Hello, Sonic fans, and welcome to the centennial inaugural episode of the Sonic Movie Show. That's right, episode 100. My name is Ethan, and with me here on this fine day is Devin.
I owe so much to Sonic. Yeah.
Does Amy say that?
No, Tails.
That's lame. Tails is always getting, for lack of a better word, cucked by Sonic. This whole storyline in this game is just, I want to be respected by my only friend.
I mean, he does have the quote coming in tight. I did right from Eggman. I can't believe this.
Yes, he says
God,
a lot.
Fucking damn.
In his two boss fights.
I can't believe. I just imagine. I know that it's like they just redoing the same line, but I like the idea. They're like, no, we need you to do it 10,000 times.
But they use that one line in different contexts.
Yeah.
I love it. My favorite Eggman quote is during the Egg Viper boss fight. Maybe it's first in the one that Tails fights him in 2. He says, "Get a load of this."
Yeah, I have that one written down.
And it sounds like he says, it sounds like he's saying, "Get a load of piss." And as soon as someone said that to me in chat, I was like, wow, it's all I hear now is "get a load of piss," and he shoots you with a laser.
Yeah, there's a lot of great quotes I've written down, and as we go, I might drop some.
Oh no, Froggy! Oh,
that's actually pretty good.
Thank you. We were practicing it on stream. Not again, Froggy. Okay. We, on this episode, if you couldn't tell already, maybe you're a super Sonic fan, you didn't even look at the title of the name, and you just clicked the episode and you're hearing, and you picked up on the clues, or if you're an adult and you read what the episode's title is, we are talking about Sonic Adventure today, the 1998/1999 Dreamcast video game.
Great year, by the way.
And fantastic. 9/9/99 was the launch of the Dreamcast in America, and Sega called that the greatest day in entertainment history.
It still is.
That was their hype. I mean, can you beat that?
No. There'll never be that date again, so you can't even beat it. You can't, they can't drop PS10.
Right.
They'll have to wait till 2099, but that's not the same.
September 9th, 1999. 2 years and 2 days later, the towers fall.
We do that too often. I think we somehow tie it back to 9/11 way too often, but that shows how fucked up we are.
I actually don't know, when did Sonic Adventure 2 release in 2001? It doesn't matter, but if it's real close, it's hilarious. Yes, we're talking about Sonic Adventure. This is our 100th episode of the Sonic Movie Show, a show that you can find on a variety of podcast services, as you always have, every single week. We've been doing this for effectively a year and a half, 2 years?
It's been more than 2 years, right? I mean,
2019.
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, but we took a lot of breaks, and initially we took a really long break. So I look
beginning.
at
it looked like every other podcast that does 4 episodes and then just
then did for months,
years, and
then we came back.
No one ever comes back. We came back.
We came back in September. So about a year later, we did our 50th episode celebration, all about Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis, the original game. And now, basically a year later, for 100, we're doing Sonic Adventure, the next big
This is a
Sonic
classic
game.
too. I think a lot of people our age, the 26-year-olds out there, maybe 100%. A little younger, this is their Sonic game. This is their
even a little bit older as well.
I just want to say this is their when they think of Sonic, this is what they think of. If you go on the Sonic subreddit, which I constantly lurk, it's always when are we getting a Sonic remaster, Sonic Adventure remaster? When are we getting that? People want this fucking game remastered.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the game in detail. We have this whole thing planned out. I understand it now. I understand it. I honestly do. I get it. And if you put yourself in the context of the Dreamcast launched with this game and Soul Calibur, which I'm pretty sure if you go on Metacritic, the Dreamcast version of Soul Calibur is the highest rated game of all time. And I'm not joking.
I would never have guessed that game too on that console.
We'll talk about it some other time. It was just mind-blowingly so much better than the arcade version and had so much more content. It was you don't expect this from a fighting game. Namco is at the top of their game. In any case, the hype was real for the Dreamcast. It honestly was. Only thing that ever surpassed in terms of a console launch hype, because I showed you some photos a couple weeks back of launch day parties at game stores for the Dreamcast. with some Final Fantasy VIII, also stuff in the background because I think it came out that same day on PlayStation 1. The only other console I could ever think of that really matched the fervor for the Dreamcast and surpassed it was PlayStation 2. 100%. Maybe the Wii and maybe the PlayStation 3.
Well, I've seen
but no
this
one
photo
bought that
a lot,
one.
and I'm sure you have too. What's the one with Master Chief and there's like a celebrity? It's like Elijah Wood or something, and they're holding like, I think it's the Xbox 360. Are you sure it's not as hyped as that?
Maybe. Also, Paris Hilton held up the GameCube, and a bunch of other celebrities were at the GameCube thing. But yeah, no, like the Dreamcast launch was dynamic.
That is such a '90s sounding thing, by the way. That the
Dreamcast.
That's just like,
and think about it. But we've gone back around. You got your fucking Google Chromecast. We're always talking about casting this, casting that.
They were the
Dreamcast?
first casters, dude.
Fuck yes. I legitimately was looking up on eBay like cleaned, refurbished Dreamcasts. Like, oh, maybe I will give $200 for this, and then send it away to get modded, where I will rip out the CD drive, put in an SD card slot, so I can just steal every game on there. Put an HDMI out on the thing, call it a day, because people can do that for
SD
somewhat
card,
cheap.
Cast.
Exactly. Some people actually still make Dreamcast games because that machine is so easy to rip apart. And like code for. People make Dreamcast games.
Simple is good.
They'll print them out on CDs. You can actually run on your Dreamcast. Okay. So we have a whole bunch to talk about today. Let's not delay this any further. Let's begin by talking about how did this game come about. So as you and I both know, there was a whole bunch of Sonic games on the Sega Genesis. You're talking 1, 2, CD, 3, even Knuckles. And Knuckles, as they call it. Then Sega's next console comes out. The Sega Saturn. Sega also had an arcade division that was still thriving at the time. Mm-hmm. Some push and some pull between the two. Sega Saturn's kind of like a merriment of the two. It's the 3D visuals that their arcade games are doing. You're getting Virtua Fighter, which is legendary at the time. You're getting Virtual Racing. You're getting all these 3D games. But for some reason or another, Sonic never had a game on Saturn that wasn't a Sonic racing game. Or I think Sonic Shuffle was like a party game. Or no, that was a Dreamcast game. But then you also have like Sonic Jam with the very end of the Saturn. That was just a collection of the Genesis games with a 3D like hub world.
I was going to ask if there was like, ports of old games, because even back then they still did that. So
exactly. But like during the Saturn era, Sonic's image, because there was no big Sonic game, Sonic's image dropped. At least the perception of it. The character was only like 5 years old in 96 during the heyday of the Saturn, but still he was old news.
I was gonna say probably at that point, like if they didn't make another game, like or in the next like 5 years after that, like
he would have been considered a has-been.
Or I'm saying Sonic wouldn't be where it's at. I'm saying like in terms of like an iconic thing, because like I remember we talked about in our 50th episode how like they drew him to be like Mickey Mouse, so he could be iconic, have that. Like people in the street know what Sonic is, whether they've played a Sonic 100%. Game or not. I think without design being great and all that, but I think if we didn't get this, if they didn't wind up making this game, who knows? Like
exactly.
The show might not even exist. That's crazy to think about.
And like the fears were mounting with the main two people behind Sonic, Yuji Naka. As well as like the guy that actually drew Sonic and all that stuff, and then as well as the director of the games that worked with Yuji Naka a lot, Takahashi Iizuka, and he is still with Sega even to this day. His first Sonic game was Sonic and Knuckles, I believe, if not then Sonic 3. They were really concerned that Sonic, their boy, was like seen as not cool anymore.
I mean, it'd help if you put games out,
Exactly, and that's what they needed one. So they started working on one called Sonic Extreme. So we know from episode 50, Yuji Naka, after Sonic 1, left Sega of Japan, flew to America, started STI, Sega Technical Institute, and that's where they made Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles. While Sonic Japan, I think, or Sega Japan, I think they might still have been technically called Sonic Team, whoever was still over there, they made Sonic CD. And then maybe other things. I'm not quite sure. After Sonic and Knuckles, Yuji Naka left America to go back to Sonic Team in Japan to work on Knights or whatever he was working on too. And STI was going to be making a Sonic main 3D platformer, fully 3D, called Sonic Extreme. But because they didn't have Yuji Naka, who, as we know, is like kind of a brilliant programmer from our 50th episode, weirdly brilliant, like knew his shit way too much, and is like the reason why Sonic even works at all on the Genesis. Without him, and with some cultural arguments, Japan, America, your main person there on your side in America just left to go back to Japan, making your lives difficult. Also, STI asked Yuji Naka if they could have the engine Nights into Dreams ran on that he made for their Sonic game, and he said no. They're having all these technical problems. That game just got canceled.
I like how they're in the same company, and they're like, hey, can you help us? And they're like, no.
Exactly. It was just straight
so
up
weird.
No.
That's crazy.
Like, hey, we're having trouble making your creation. Can we please? No.
Yeah, you'd think if anything, it'd be like, hey, don't mess with my baby. Like, yeah, I'm not going to work on it fully with you, but like, yeah, I want to make sure I set you up with success.
Yeah.
To do your own thing with it, but I don't want you to fuck it up. I would think you would give them the keys.
Maybe he would be like Hideo Kojima years later when he's like, all right, I'm done with After Metal Gear Solid 2. You guys can do it. I don't like how you're doing it. Please just let me come back. He comes back and like, no. Do this, this, and this. You can almost think the same type of thing with Yuji Naka, but apparently he didn't give a shit too much. But he wanted to make a new game. He wanted to make some new ideas on the Saturn. Nights into Dreams. I've never played it. I feel like you don't even know what it even looks like. Very weird game. I've
always heard about it, and I don't know.
And it's nothing special from what I've seen. But I'm going to give it a shot one day. Yeah, so Sonic Extreme was canceled in 1996.
Not what I was expecting.
Exactly. It's 3D, but it's like on rails.
But it also makes a lot of sense now. I was thinking, like, for some reason, like, a serious, like, crime game.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, Nights into Dreams. That sounds like a, like, supernatural, like, crime, like, you know, like cops trying to find the murderer, a detective kind of thing going on. Nope.
Him and Uekawa worked on that game, designed that character. The same two guys that made Balan Wonderland. You can tell from the way the main character looks that's the man. That's the man right there. They made that guy. Exactly. Character's also like gender fluid too or something too. But yeah, Sonic Extreme canceled in 96, 97. And immediately an SOS basically to Yuji Naka, please come back. Your game's done. Can you please help make Sonic? And again, we're talking 5-6 years after the original game came out, and the series is already considered like a has-been. It's not cool anymore. Because cool is like, it's just subjective, obviously, but it changes with the times. The times are always fucking turbulent. You know, Michael Jackson can be in and then out and then in and then out. Who knows? David Bowie was great at changing with the times. Some people, not good at changing with the times, right?
Some people stuck with it or stick with what they were and then they disappear.
Yeah. Or sometimes they stand the test of time like fucking Mario. If you're lucky. But if you're designed to be cool, you got to change with the time. So they basically went out and they decided they needed to rethink this whole idea from scratch. They had Yuji Uekawa redesign all the characters, slim them down a bit, make them taller, redesign their shoes, make them look like they're actually in urban streetwear, even though really they're mostly naked. But that was the idea. Almost a graffiti
Sonic,
type of look.
I think of the city.
Exactly. But honestly, that Sonic Adventure box art pose where he's doing the thing, that could easily be graffiti you would see on a wall in a city, right? That was the idea.
Like, vintage and weird, but in a good way. Like, it is very, like, you couldn't pull that off now. Like, if you put that on your cover, if you put that on a video game cover now, like, even if it was Sonic again, people would be like, what? Like, it has a retro vintage.
I agree and disagree. I think some of the best box arts are like Mario 3, where it's just Mario flying. I think Marvel Spider-Man, where it's just fucking Spider-Man. I think they're really good.
I mean, part of the vintageness is that it's actually drawn. This is before you had a lot of...
or it's like a render.
Yeah, it's not made in Illustrator.
Right. Yeah, so that someone drew that. Although the background clearly is a whole bunch of different Photoshop stuff going on.
Yeah.
To
And
blend that together.
I love it because you can't even like. It's so hard to replicate something like that, like the originality, but also just like the
Absolutely.
90s of it. It's
Absolutely.
oozing 90s.
Well, we're talking about that box art. Hey, look, we recreated it for the show right here. Just for episode 100, just for you guys out there.
Like and subscribe.
Exactly.
If you liked it.
But yeah, like a graffiti type of look to the character designs, like an urban type of look. And I mean that obviously in a very positive way. But Yuji Naka, who's now the producer on this title, not like director or anything, not in the trenches with the coding, he wanted the game to be more involved and evolved from the simple focus of the Genesis games. He wanted it to be more than just
Evolve.
You play a leveled.
The game.
Exactly. Halo Combat evolved, right?
Halo Reach.
Again. Takahashi Izuka, the director of Sonic Adventure, suggested a more focused story on role-playing. Basically, they wanted it to actually be an adventure in the sense of, like, these characters, their stories are considered, this is Sonic's adventure. This is Tails' adventure. You're finding stuff. You're role-playing in the broadest sense of, like, you're discovering things. You're talking to people. Like, a lot, if you talk about role-playing nowadays, you're assuming more involved things with stats and branching narratives and decision trees and rolling a dice or however it might work in a video game, right? But if you take a step back to 1997 when they start development on this game, role-playing simply means something more like a Zelda game. Really, it's just an action game where you're exploring and you're talking to people. But that's role-playing in this world right now. And Zelda was also a huge inspiration for them. That's why these characters get items that they upgrade. That's why there's secrets to find or whatever. Apparently Zelda was a big inspiration. But yeah, more than the simple focus and a large story or large like focus on the story. So to do that, they brought in voice work. And for some reason, which is interesting, I'd never really found out like an actual conversation about that or like an example in an interview. But they decided immediately no anime voice actors at all. We want people from cinema. So they got some guy, I wish I wrote down the name, for Japan, who's been in Japanese films to voice Sonic. And apparently they chose him because he can also speak English. But he's not the guy that they voiced, that he is voicing Sonic in English either. There's a completely different cast.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it is not exactly. Ryan Drummond, I believe, is the voice of Sonic in Sonic Adventure. The guy that voiced Robotnik, I think, died shortly after, like, maybe Sonic Adventure 2 or something.
Which is crazy, because, like, the voice in this game, to me, is, like, just sounds iconically like Eggman. Like, for some reason, like, even before we did the show, and, like, or I've played many Sonic games, like, one of my first games I ever played was Sonic, but, like, never really remembered his, like the voice of Eggman, but I feel like what he's doing, what he does here is like just Eggman. Like that's Eggman, and like
exactly
whether it's cartoon clips I've seen or like whatnot. Like when I think of Eggman or hear Eggman in my head, like he kills it. So it must be him. Like he has that big of an influence, right? Because there was the cartoons we watched that we reviewed that I think came out a little bit after. And I don't remember who voiced them, but I remember like not liking them as much.
There were some before it. And some obviously after it. Definitely there was Sonic X, which was a cartoon in like the early 2000s that was kind of the Sonic Adventure cartoon, so to speak. So it was that cast, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, like everyone has a voice here. Everyone has a voice. And like they're all different characters for each of these voices, except Big the Cat and Gamma are both voiced by the same guy, you said was Duke Nukem.
Is he? I didn't even... Did I?
You said that to me one time.
Oh, maybe I found
you were
that
joking.
out the other day. I don't know.
But yeah. So yeah, they wanted to work on all this stuff, and obviously Dreamcast is coming out, but this game started off as a Sega Saturn game. This game started off as a 3D Sega Saturn game that they were working on, but then when President of Sega informed, as I read that this was worded, informed... They probably didn't have email, or maybe the secrets like this wouldn't have been emailed.
They got one letter, and the boss had to come and be like, "Dear SGI, LOL, we're getting rid of the Sega Saturn.
Exactly. Probably. Well, this was Sonic Team, not STI. But yeah, Yuji Naka was told by the president of Sega that, hey, we got this thing called the Dreamcast coming out, which is interesting because the man obviously knew about it. Because there was brief Dreamcast history, because I don't really know too much either. There was 2 different prototypes for what the system could be. America made a prototype, and Japan made a prototype, and they were both named after swords. Japanese one was named Katana, and the American one, I don't remember what it was named, but it was named after some Western sword or something, I guess. And obviously, it was like voted on or whatever, or decided on.
It's probably called
and
like
of course, all the Japanese version, all the Japanese people voted on the Japanese version. But yeah, there was in an alternate universe, there is a completely different machine called the Sega Dreamcast, or at least coming out, for that system. So Yuji Naka had influence on it. He apparently is quoted on saying that their RAM got increased because they were having trouble with Sonic Adventure. He asked for more RAM. Yeah. He was also talking. He talked shit in some interview about the PlayStation, talking about how low its RAM is. It's only 2 megabytes. Ours is 24 on the Dreamcast. But the Sega Saturn was only also 4, which was still better than the PlayStation.
So, if anything, maybe Yuji Naka started the console wars.
Maybe he did.
He was the like in World War I, where the one dude was assassinated. The one in Austria.
Oh, Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah,
I'm surprised you forgot that name.
Yeah, he's the Franz Ferdinand of the console wars. It's all his fault, and he's still walking out a free man. So in July of 1997, they decided to shift their focus off the Saturn to the Dreamcast. The work that they had done, they kind of packaged it together as its own little thing, and that's the 3D segment in Sonic Jam, the kind of little hub that connects all the games. Sonic running around in like a Green Hill Zone type of looking place. It was called Sonic World, that little hub. That was the basis of what they were actually working on for Sonic Adventure for Saturn. But they swapped to Dreamcast in July, and they had a team of 20 members. They had 10 artists, 7 programmers, and 3 game designers. And I believe that does not include, obviously, producer Yuji Naka and director Takahashi Izuka. So they had 20 people, but by the time the game would come out, about a year later, or 2 years, a year and a half later, really, they would end up having more than 60 people, which is a lot. That's like a lot. I read somewhere saying that had the most people, but I don't know if that's exactly true for a video game of that time. But there was a lot of people that worked on that. But then, when they had that initial core group of people, that team of 20 people, they sent most of them. I couldn't get a confirmation on whether or not it was all 20 of them. Maybe not all of them needed to do this or not. But the core members of that, and definitely all of their artists, they went on basically a world trip, so to speak. I don't know if they went all around the world, but the main places they went to, down in South America, they went to Peru and Guatemala. And a couple other places too. But most of what you see in the game, textures-wise, especially in that Mystic Ruins area, and like the levels kind of surrounding that idea, are like literally straight from photographs they took there. They took pictures of the temples. They took pictures of just like what the rocks look like there. What's the stonework of these? Take a picture of it. So when we look, I mean, it's funny and goofy to say that Knuckles' Master Emerald little temple thing is authentic, but kind of. If it's literally a texture ripped from a Mayan temple, kind of, and they're trying to mimic that kind of look, kind of, right? Peru was one of the main places for that.
And they actually apparently saw some sandboarders, like sandboarding, where they like snowboarding, but you're on sand.
Yeah.
And that's why Tails has that like little mini game level thing
More
in
like
there,
Sand
Sand
Hill.
Hill.
Yeah.
Which we didn't realize was a reference, or just maybe they forgot. It was a name they used before.
Because when we played Sonic Forces together, like when it came out in 2016, was that 2016?
17.
Jesus Christ, might as well be 5 years ago. It is 5 years ago. Holy shit.
It's 4.
4 math. But yeah, like when you did that line, we were just like laughing because like it was such a bad pun. But now that joke is even more, to me, like even better. It's like it's a pun and it's a fucking callback.
But my thing is, I wonder if it's not a callback because maybe they didn't remember.
I don't know
that it was there. But Sonic Team Sonic Racing uses that song, and there's like apparently
I will
a
say that
race.
when the Sand Hill part came up, I'm like, no way. I'm like, really? This joke's coming back? I'm like,
they modded
this.
They modded the Steam
joke.
version. Exactly. But yeah, they took lots of trips all over the place, and one of the big like ruined temples in Guatemala was called Tikal, which clearly was an inspiration for the character of Tikal.
Tikal. I think it's Tikal.
The game started off with just Sonic. Obviously, we have 6 characters. You could argue 7, and you could argue 8 if you count the Chows in terms of main gameplay things. But they started with just Sonic. They made a handful of levels. We're focusing on playtesting because this is a brand new dynamic like change. So they need to approach their level design differently, and they need to figure out, hey, can we do the same things we did before? What do we need to change? They found out really quickly players have no idea where to go. So that's why you need to take control of the camera for them and show different angles. And like Mario had this problem too when HD jumped to 3D. Jumping on an enemy is how both of these characters defeated them. Doing that in 3D is a lot harder for people that aren't epic gamers. I can do it no problem. But like, okay. I'm not a kid.
You don't need a stunt.
I'm not a kid.
I'm not a kid. I'm not a 40-year-old dad who's never played a video game before. All right.
Exactly. I'm not 7. In Mario 64, he got punches. That's how he dealt with it. Sonic Adventure is a better idea. It's a homing attack because it's also like it helps with the speed and it helps with the flow. So that was like a smart idea that they did. They wanted it so that players would be able to kind of figure out where to go dynamically by using enemies, as well as they control the camera for the player. Later versions would let you control the camera if you wanted. I've tried those versions, those camera modes. It's terrible. You might as well let them do it for you. Even if you don't think the camera's great in this game, it's better than what you can do on the fly. I guarantee it.
I tried the free camera mode, by the way. It wasn't... I mean, it didn't hurt me too much, but I think I wind up switching it back. I think it is.
There's points where better, you go off a jump or a ramp and the camera has you facing the wrong direction naturally. Unless you knew to turn it midair, which you might not, right? The one that they did is better. It's not fantastic, but it's better than what made me respect them.
We'll go into more details what we like, like about the game, but I'll just say that one issue I had when I played Sonic Adventure 2 was I got nauseous real quick, especially in levels like Deeper for Death Chamber and whatnot, because it was mixed between the textures, the frame rate, and the camera doing most of the heavy hitting in terms to my stomach.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll talk about our stuff because I have a bunch of stuff to say on that as well. But another big thing too, and again, I talked about how Yuji Naka claimed he made the RAM bigger on the Dreamcast because he asked for it. Apparently, they still are having some memory problems. So that's why this game. That's why this game, not necessarily that, but this game does complete cuts and loads in almost like a different level. But the levels are segmented into parts, essentially. Most of the times it's 2, but sometimes it's 3 for Sonic stuff. And like, when I first was playing through it, and I didn't know any of this stuff, my assumption is, this is a clever way of kind of making it feel like the old Act 1, Act 2 kind of thing, without having to literally make different levels, because it's just one level. But really, it's because of like a memory constraint. We need to flush away everything. And like, think about Emerald Coast. It happens after you cross the lighthouse. I played that level a whole bunch in preparation for this, testing out stuff. After you clear the lighthouse and you go in, then it starts the next version or next segment. And what's cool, every single one of these has completely different music too, which is something that would not persist in other Sonic games.
Yeah.
Cityscape has one song. It's awesome, but it has one song. Emerald Coast has two. Windy Valley has 3 songs to it. You know what I mean? I've been listening to that playlist on Spotify a lot. So that's neat. And it almost feels like sometimes it's a simple change of scenery. Sometimes it's a simple change of tone, like the tornado when that sucks you in. You're in a different part. The tensity is up there when before it was, happy-go-lucky, whimsical. He's literally running on nothing, on the air, on leaves, the wind, the breeze, right? Now he needs to get out of this tornado before he dies. Like, they do these cuts for that. So it's an interesting way where they have a technical constraint and they do an artistic solution with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, after Sonic's levels were completed, which Sonic has 10 levels, even though there's 11 levels in the game, Sonic has 10. The team decided that, hey, and I'm not sure if this was a Yuji Naka quote himself, or maybe it was a Izuka quote, but it was at the very least, it was a consensus that the entire team had was, hey, we put all this work into these levels. Players are going to run through them, no problem. I understand, like, their goal was that it would take at least 5 minutes for a new player to beat the level and see things, maybe explore. Maybe they're like, no, I want to go through it fast, and they don't. But they knew players are going to run through this fast. We did all this goddamn work. We want people to actually take a look around our levels and see it. So then that's when they decided, let's do more characters in this game. Initially, this was just a Sonic game, which is crazy. And in some random world, there is just a version of Sonic Adventure that has just 10 Sonic levels, and that's it. Which would be crazy.
I mean, the game, I think each adventure is roughly, like, for me, it took roughly 2 hours to 2.5 hours. So it's crazy to think that, to be fair, I think the Sonic part was like 4, but most, let's say, a 6-hour game.
Yeah.
Even I understand this time period, but, still, that's pretty short.
Right. Exactly.
And we've played shorter Sonic games. We've played Sonic Forces together, and that was 6 hours.
Sonic Colors, I beat that in 3. And yeah, and there was a huge focus, Yuji Naka in interviews, especially talking about how replayability, a lot of stuff to do. We'll talk about the online stuff and how that brings in new elements, literally that you didn't have before. But basically, the different characters were there so that you could go through the same level and see things a little bit differently, or at least just slow down and walk around. This would be gone in Sonic Adventure 2. Every character got their own levels. Sure, some levels are close to each other because they use a map to show you, so you can see, Sonic's second level in that game, Metal Harbor, is really close to one of Eggman's early levels, so it's the same kind of aircraft carrier, Metal Harbor, I guess, is a great name for that type of theme. Sure, they're using assets, but that game is different levels for everyone. Yeah. Whereas this one, it's here are the 10 levels. Okay, we'll make one more 11 for a couple mechanics I noticed. And then, but yeah, no, Amy's going to run through Twinkle Park again. It's really the same thing. Big the Cat is going to go fishing in that one pond in Twinkle Park. We want players to look around, and I actually appreciate and understand that concept. Sonic struggled in the HD era with hey, he's got a little content because we take forever to make these levels. We can't make 1 million of them, and we joke about how the werehog is there just because they couldn't help themselves. They just had to add some another fucking furry friend. But really, that was another way of just reusing the same shit, so they could just keep making the game not 2 hours. So it's interesting that it starts with here.
That I kind of appreciated it more, and actually, it's close to our dream Sonic Rangers. Just a couple episodes ago, I think it was 95 or 96. We did a Sonic Rangers, what do we want from Sonic Rangers? What would be our dream Sonic Rangers game? And I remember we talked about how we would and this was before I played this game. I played Sonic Adventure 2. and I didn't realize this, and I kind of wish we recorded the episode after this, because
we still can. We can revise the.
We can revise, but
that game ain't coming out for a long time.
But the idea what we had was like, okay, what if there's multiple levels, but they're all connected into a main hub? And this is what this game is. Obviously, our idea is there's no loading screens because there's SSDs now.
Sure.
It's more fancy.
We have a perfect idealized.
Yeah, and it's more maybe
obviously.
bigger, more things to collect or do, and like you unlock different levels based off the previous level you did, and it's more free flowing. There's no loading screens, any of that. Great, but like to me, like the base idea of what we had was Sonic Adventure.
Yeah,
to a certain extent. I think we wanted a much more bigger, broader thing, but like on a very like surface level, that's what they have. They have like a hub, two hub areas. They have the city, and they have the island, and then there's levels that you can go to.
Right.
From there.
Exactly.
And it wasn't until later I'm just like, at first I was like, this is a little annoying. I have to run back to here to do that, and I'm like. Not saying it was executed perfectly, but I'm like, but this is what I want in a Sonic Rangers game. I just wanted a much quicker pace, much
and like
better. But
the not understanding where to go is intentional. They want you to explore and talk and figure it out. It's not supposed to be an arrow straight to where you go. Although, like in practice, I found the floating red light, and every single time this would be like, what if you weren't to an ice place? I'm like. The ice place got it.
I didn't realize the red light was so helpful, like until like 2 hours in. So I was like, once I figured that out, I'm just like, I don't have time. Tell me where I need to go. And then even then, I still sometimes struggled, and I had to like Google it. I'm like, where do I go?
I did that a couple times.
Knuckles needs to go here. What do they mean? Like they're like, this place is empty sometimes, or whatever the thing is. And I'm like, that's too vague. I don't know what you mean. But yeah. No,
I have one of my Google searches is Sonic Adventure Supersonic Where to Go because I didn't know where to go.
Yeah. I struggled too. That was some of the issues with the cutscenes. I think misleading you where you needed to go and whatnot. But just generally speaking, this kind of ties back to the idea we had, like as a prototype, very early prototype.
And like
whether or not I think they executed it well, I can appreciate it, but I don't know if I really love it in this. But it's also how old of a game, but. Today's standard, I don't know if I love it.
And now, if I put myself back in 1999 mindset, or maybe I'm a Japanese child in 1998 December, I get it on Christmas or whatever. Christmas. Maybe my birthday is that day, right? You put yourself in that mindset, and you're playing this game, and you see this big world, and like reviews, because I read a few, praised how beautiful and how big this game was. This was a very good-looking video game. In 1998/9.
I was going to say,
again,
it is
PlayStation,
very nice for 1998.
PlayStation is out and it's struggling with textures. Things are jittering all over the place. Things don't feel seamless there. There's hella load times.
I mean,
Nintendo 64 was better looking than that, but there weren't really games for it. And some of them, like the texture quality looked really muddy. Sonic Adventure, I've seen bold claims, but there's still claims from 1999, the best looking console game. This game really was like big and huge and cool. And if I put myself in that mindset with the appreciations of what you were just talking about with what we want from a new Sonic game, I'm like, I get it. I get why people have such a fervorous like nostalgia for this game and the time they spent with it as children. I get it. Don't necessarily get the folks much younger than us that are Sonic fans that go back to this and are like, yeah, this is awesome. Because you've played games that do these ideas better or bigger. So I don't necessarily get that. The defense, the just unilateral defense of this. But for like people our age or a little bit older that were there for the Dreamcast. This is the best-selling Dreamcast game. A, because it's a launch title and it's Sonic. And B, because there weren't a whole lot of Dreamcast games and the system was like, 2.5 years? This game sold 2.5 million copies. It's the best-selling Dreamcast game. It is obviously by then the most beloved one on the system. I get it. I honestly do. But then, they added all these characters. They figured, hey, Tails, maybe obviously you play the story for that, and it's like, Tails' story is basically, I'm good too, I need to prove it. So his levels are essentially one of the segments of a couple Sonic levels. Like Windy Valleys is his Tails' first level. It's the second half after the tornado, where it's a lot of straightaways that are really beautiful. That's his level, and it's all races against Sonic, and his last one is a race against Eggman, where Eggman says, "What? He caught up?" Almost immediately because you're faster than him.
Yeah.
But that's his gameplay is mainly races, but he has a sandboarding thing. They did that first, apparently, before the snowboarding at Cool Mountain. Apparently, they added that after. And then they added Knuckles, so they say, hey, Knuckles needs to go a little slower. Knuckles is all about treasure hunting.
I can't believe
then you get
this.
Exactly. Then they decide Amy, Amy's gonna be pursued. So Amy's just being chased by a robot. And then for Big the Cat and E102 Gamma, the robot, those are two newcomers. You have your old Sonic cast. Amy's playable for the first time. She was in Sonic CD. Knuckles was in Sonic and 3, Sonic and Knuckles. Not technically playable in Sonic and Knuckles, or he was playable. But new characters. Big the Cat's inspiration literally drew from the fact that the team already made a fishing prototype for Dreamcast, and Yuji Naka said, throw that in. And he also said, I want to, contrast between the fast-paced action. We have our small, slender, hip characters. Let's make a really big boy who's real relaxed. He can be our fishing guy. To show the players, no need to rush. That's why he's big. That's why he's purple. The GameCube version, his ears are a lot taller for some reason than Dreamcast. And then, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I don't know when we're allowed to talk about characters, but I have some beef.
Beef with the beefy boy?
Yeah, with the beefy boy.
And then E102 Gamma's inspiration literally just came from the fact that Yuji Naka claims he's had a lot of fans tell him they want shoot-'em-up gameplay. But
I just imagine he got like 3 letters in the mail, like fan mail. Be like,
I want Sonic with a gun.
Listen. I liked Nights into Dreams. I liked Sonic. But when are you going to make a Doom game?
When are you going to make... Yeah, exactly. Was there a port of Doom for Saturn, I wonder? Because there was Final Doom for PlayStation, which wasn't bad. I own that. Actually, one of the few PlayStation 1 discs I own is Final Doom. But yeah, he wanted shoot 'em up gameplay, but it's unclear if again people wanted that in a Sonic game, or if he was just saying, hey, the Saturn didn't have a lot of shooting games, let's make one. So that's where his gameplay comes from.
And they would never do a shoot 'em up Sonic game. Never.
With Sonic, never.
Nope, they would never, in fact, ever do that. They would never, ever do that. I mean, because Sonic is about the kids.
Exactly. But what if Sonic was edgier and black? Then we'll give him a gun.
Jesus Christ.
They literally had to find a black Sonic to give him a gun. I rented that game twice. I rented Shadow the Hedgehog twice. It was rated E10 because he said damn when he died. I would love to see that game running on a Dreamcast. What Sega should have just
they should have made they should have
games.
They should. You know what?
But,
this is what the kids want.
But
Sonic with a gun.
Honestly, yeah, that should have been the flux point for the whole series.
Sonic goes fast.
It's not Sonic
but you
Adventure.
have the option. It's not like you don't get anything out of it. You have the option to shoot people.
Exactly.
Like Grand Theft. It's basically Grand Theft Auto, but you go fast.
And then they also worked on the Chow Garden mini game scenario thing.
Tamagotchi.
Exactly. It's a Tamagotchi. And obviously the main inspiration from that is the fact that the Dreamcast, essentially the Dreamcast memory card, the VMU, is a Tamagotchi for your Dreamcast controller. It plugs into your Dreamcast controller. It's got the little window slot for the little window on the thing to pop up there. You can pull it out, and it's got a little D-pad and a little couple buttons, just like a little tiny Game Boy. PlayStation tried to do that in Japan with its own, the Pocket Station, little standalone thingy, only for Japanese stuff. But Tamagotchi was fucking huge. They were cheap, portable LCD
See,
video
everyone's
games.
talking about pockets. They should have stuck with the wallet, the thing that you always got in your pocket.
Exactly.
The wallet monsters.
The dream wallet. But yeah, that was the idea for that. So, of course, you need a Tamagotchi thing for Sonic. Mm-hmm. Yuji Naka's previous game, Nights into Dreams, had not this idea at all, but it had the type of artificial life type of thing. They called it A-life as their fancy tech word for how they did it in Nights into Dreams. But the Nights into Dreams levels themselves had these little tiny weird fucking creepy dudes. I've sent you a couple renders of them or what they look like. Essentially, my feeling is that if some American executive got a hold of these characters somehow, somewhere, they would have fucking turned them into minions. Or the Minions relatable memes would have been made out of these fuckers.
We should do that. Add that to the list of memes to post on the Twitter account.
Okay.
Get like a caption being like, I remember when I had to work 20 hours to pay off my student loan
and it's
debt.
just a picture of one of them. They're called Nightopians. But the idea in Nights into Dreams is in the levels themselves, they're there and stuff happens, or like the stuff you do around them affects their mood and that. And then when you revisit the level later, maybe there's more. Maybe they're doing more things. Maybe one of them builds a castle, that kind of idea. An artificial life. The idea is that you don't have direct manipulation over it in the sense that you don't get to see cause and effect that is straight up numbers based. There's a bit of a mystery of how things work. That's what makes things feel alive. Similarly, Pokemon did this back in the day and still does. There's hidden stats that determine slight stat increases and decreases. So if you and I both pick Charmander and we play through the whole game, our Charizards at level 100 would look a little bit differently. How? We don't know. That's the idea, is a little bit of mystery in how the game works, makes things feel a little bit more alive. So that was the idea with that. But they took that system and said, hey, no, we want to actually have this be a Tamagotchi type of thing. So that's where Chow's came from. Weird idea overall. Its implementation we'll talk about later in the game. I don't dislike it, but it's weird that they were like, yes, this needs to be a thing in the game, and it ends up being, for lack of a better word, the end game for the game. Everything you do in the game feeds back into that, but not the other way around. Yeah. So it becomes the thing that you do.
Get for winning a Chow race, you don't like unlock.
Sonic
like
can't run faster.
Sonic doesn't run faster from now on. Doesn't get new boots.
Exactly.
That's not even like, you can change his outfit or something.
Right. Yeah, it only feeds into the Chow stuff, not the other way around.
You can now play
Sonic
as
Adventure
Leon
2 did
on
the same
this
thing.
Level. From Resident Evil 2. Now we can be him.
Exactly. For half a second, I thought you were talking about my D&D character.
No, I meant the Resident Evil.
Exactly. But yeah, all that stuff. The game was revealed on August 22nd, 1998.
Good year.
And were released in Japan on December 23rd, 1998, with many, many, many bugs and glitches. Their excuse? We didn't have enough time. It wasn't even a launch game in Japan.
Some say that still happens today.
It does. But these are much simpler games with a lot less people, though. And it's a timetable. Again, this is back in the day where, like, fucking huge Final Fantasy games were releasing yearly with, like, not that many people, where you could just do that. Textures didn't take hundreds of hours to make, which then you need to boil that down to a weekend, right? So you'd get 50 people to work overtime to make a picture of a tree, right?
This would be the best fucking tree, though.
Here, they can just blow that money on sending these chuckle fucks to Peru to take photos. That's how easy. I don't want to say that's how easy.
Can you just use Google?
Exactly. We don't have the budget for that.
GeoGuessr something.
Exactly. But yeah, so this game wasn't in that long development, but it launched with lots of bugs and glitches. And
glitches and bugs.
Therefore, members of Sonic Team, maybe not all of them, but members of Sonic Team flew to the United States to set up an American division of Sonic Team to localize the game. Now I want you to think about if you worked at STI at the time being like, what the fuck? That's what we were. Now there's another one. I thought that was us. But yeah, so they basically set up there to fix bugs, localize the game into English, and I think a couple other languages. I'm not sure. And this is
Canadian.
The Canadian language, yeah. They got different money up there. It's weird. This is a thing that happened in the late 90s throughout the early and definitely maybe into the late 2000s with lots of Japanese games. Game comes out in Japan. Maybe there are bugs.
Big success.
Or whatever. Big success. They then spend like 9 months. I'm not going to make a baby joke. They spend like 9 months localizing the game in English. They have people do that.
Incubating.
They have the team doing that.
Yeah.
The team is fixing bugs while also localizing the game. They're spending all this time. They add a few things. Game has new content in it that the Japanese version doesn't when it launches in North America or in Europe, the States, and the Union, the European Union, whatever, when it launches worldwide. They then take that version. Sometimes they add even more shit to it. Most of the time they don't. They bring it back to Japan and resell it again as an international version. Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts did that a lot. Lots of Japanese games did that, and Sonic Adventure did that. Launched in Japan, they came out in America with a lot more stuff, and then came back to Japan called the international version. That's what our like box art, album art thing is based off of that box art.
Sonic le Hedgehog, le International.
Le International. But yeah, some new additions were added and many bugs fixed. This version includes the ability to visit a Sonic Adventure webpage.
Hell yeah.
But like I didn't really get to see footage of what it looks like. But it apparently is more than just literally a web page. I think it's something like maybe 3D or whatever. I don't know. Because the Dreamcast had an Ethernet port.
There's some
had
GIFs.
a modem. The Dreamcast had an actual modem in it. It was online connected. It was way ahead of the time. way ahead of the time. But the idea is that you could download patches to the game, not to fix shit, but to change shit. Maybe AT&T, and this did happen, wanted some branding, so they changed Speed Highway to replace textures with the AT&T billboard shit. And they'll make a platform that's an AT&T platform, which leads you to a shortcut. They did stuff like that, which is interesting.
Sellouts.
But the idea was, sellout. But they launched in America with this feature already enabled, and you could, on day one, Dreamcast launch day, go to that feature and download a patch that would replace Station Square with a skinned version of it that was all celebrating the launch of the Dreamcast. There's a big Dreamcast launch celebration billboard floating over the harbor in Station Square.
I wonder how long it took to download, dude.
I don't, yeah, exactly, right? Or maybe it might not have been that big of a file if it's just textures.
Still.
But then Sonic goes up to it and says, "Welcome to the Dreamcast."
And all that, like.
Yeah. But it was ahead of the time. Like, the idea about patches.
Yeah, that's great. Like,
that was,
when
1999.
I was reading that in our notes, I was like, that's like I thought like patches weren't until like, or you just didn't do patches until like 2013 when like finally people are like playing over Wi-Fi, like playing COD. You know what I mean? Like that to me
Xbox
is when
360.
It's just when I had access to the internet on a console was around 2011. So like
fair, yeah. I mean, I my favorite things I like to talk about. The Wii did not have the ability to download updates, even though it was connected to the internet. It did not have the ability to download updates. There was a game-breaking bug in their big Metroid game and their big Zelda game, and they couldn't fix it without making gigantic things. For Metroid, they literally told fans, "Send in an SD card with your save file, and we'll fix it." Imagine if Activision had to do that with Call of Duty, right? That wasn't the forward thinking, but Sega had that forward thinking in the 90s. 1998, they put a modem on their
they're not
console.
making consoles now. You know what I mean?
Right?
I mean, they are gonna. Once they get our plans.
Devin, they had a motion controller. You could play Soul Calibur with a motion controller. It was a fishing rod, but you could play. You could play Soul Calibur with a stick.
They should listen to our past episodes where we talk about our Dream Sonic games and also our Dream Sega console. It's right there for you, dude. Just do it.
Sega Super Remastered. I will say no more. But the Dreamcast was ahead of its time in a lot of ways. But at the same time, when its competitors came out, was very dated. PlayStation 2 looked light years. That's the distance. But it looked eons better.
It was light years ahead.
Somehow, it still proves that it's better. Right? The PlayStation 2 decimated the Dreamcast, and that's why the Dreamcast died. Really, it comes down to the PlayStation 2. The thing could play fucking DVDs.
Sega
Devin.
started the console war, and Sony ended it.
Immediately.
Or at least killed the first competition.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, also on the webpage, you could upload your Chow data for your friends, because it was password protected, to download and babysit your Chow for you. You could, Devin, set it up to a server. Everyone can see all of the Chows, and you say, Ethan, this is the name or this is the number, the code for it. Find it. I find it. You give me the password. I can download it, and then I'm taking care of your Chow. Literally uploading and then downloading it, right? That was in the game.
No one likes to take care of other people's kids in real life. You think I'm going to take care of your child? Mm-mm.
Okay, so then maybe you're heartless. Maybe you want to go on the webpage to something called the black market, which is not how it functions in the version we played. The black market, you bought chows. Not eggs, you just bought chows.
Bought children.
You bought them, yes. You traded your emblems for them, and you could download them, and they'd be all shiny and shit,
Fire
which
emblem.
is weird. Exactly. But yeah, then after all the game came out in America, they brought it back to Japan, sold it again under the name Sonic Adventure International. Yeah, now we are at the game's launch. We're playing the game, Devin, you and me.
Wow. This is so fun. Oh my God, did you see that whale? Wow.
Exactly. A lot of people, when they look back on that level, think that the whale ends a level, kind of like how the truck ends Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah.
But it's like not even halfway in.
I like the idea. I know it's video game logic. We shouldn't take it too seriously, but I just like the idea that someone has to remake all the deck out there.
Someone has to fucking build it.
Yeah, someone has to they're like this fucking whale and this fucking hedgehog keep coming down this place. I need to go build it out. I just built it. He's playing again. I just finished it. I just like the idea of like there's this one dude who just constant, he's like sitting right behind it, going just as fast, nailing in all the new ones.
Now let's talk about the game overall. What we think about the game, and we'll also want to talk about like how the game is structured. So Devin, because I did a lot of talking here.
Yeah.
Wow. You just have to say it like that. Fuck you. No. What do you think about the game overall? And you can even go into some specifics, but like, what do you think?
So,
what are your takeaways?
I want to start about what I was thinking going in, because I played Sonic Adventure 2. I've played a couple other Sonic games. But overall, my Sonic knowledge in terms of actually playing it is maybe slimmer than you would think, considering we have a podcast called The Sonic Movie Show. But going in, and I'm solely basing this off Sonic Adventure 2. I did not like Sonic Adventure 2. I get it. People like it. But to me, it was just had a rough time with it. Besides a couple levels, I had a rough time with it. And I'm going in and I've seen screenshots from this. I know the whale. You know, I've seen a couple things from it, but going in, I was like, I was not looking forward to it, to be honest with you. I was like, especially doing all the side levels outside of Sonic, I'm like, Sonic will be fine. I'll deal with it. I'll probably like most of the levels, but I was like, I'm not looking forward to Tails, especially like early on when I heard his voice. Sorry, voice actor who sounded like a 9-year-old. I just not down with it. Not down with it. I like the current Tails voice actor. I forgot her name, but she was part of like their little Twitter thing that they did, and it was like her birthday when they did it. So like they wished her happy birthday as their last thing. That. But like it's funny because obviously they pretended it was like a fan or whatever. Anyways, so like I don't know. And going in, I felt that way. And while playing it, there was definitely moments of frustration. For people who know me as a game player, I am not the best game player. I'm above average compared to the average person, I think, but I'm definitely not like up there. I'm probably shit compared to like people who play video games a lot more, maybe 10, 12 hours a week or whatever it is. I'm trash, especially with 3D platformers. I didn't grow up with 3D platformers. I stayed away from them. I was more playing like racing games and like guns, violence, but not like this kind of stuff. Even though I did my first game ever was Sonic, but yeah, like I just knew going in this was a recipe for disaster. And yeah, while playing it, I had my frustrations. There were some parts where I verbally, and I played the first like 3 hours on my stream, and the reason I stopped doing it on stream is because I was getting frustrated, and I'm like, this isn't entertaining to watch. I'm not having fun. I'm not going to do this on stream. So I stopped doing it on stream, and I'm like, I'm just going to take my time, not feel pressured to do good, because I was struggling at some of the Sonic levels, whether it was homing attack or jumping, running into shit, or losing all my lives halfway through a level that I thought was annoying. But as I was finishing it, I started to appreciate it a little more, like I mentioned earlier, of like what the concept is, and I try to put myself in the shoes of what if I was my age now in '98, like playing this, what would I feel about it, and trying to like put that in perspective. And I'm like, okay, I see what they're trying to do here. Does it age well? No. I'm not really expecting many games to age well though from this time period, but I see what they're trying to do. Looks pretty nice, all things considered. I know this is technically I played it on Steam. That's technically not a remake, but a port. It's been redone, graphics been done. I played the director's cut, so things have been redone. It's gonna look a little nicer, but I still think it looked probably close enough to. I watched a video of comparing it, and it is a little bit better, but generally speaking, I'm like, for this time period, it looks pretty good. But try not to ramble too much here, but yeah, overall, I just thought it was fine. Now, like, it's hard, like I said, hard to put yourself back then. I'm sure it was good back then, or I would have loved it more back then. But there's just moments where I was frustrated. I'm just like, these controls suck. I had the same issues I had in this game that I had in Sonic Adventure 2. Maybe less so. That could be just from experience now, or just knowing the camera. Like, the camera fights you, like we mentioned before, and there's parts where, like, I just fell. Just through what? I don't know. And, like, that shit's annoying. It takes you out of the game. Maybe it's me having a short temper. I don't know. But, yeah, I thought it was fine. I can go into so many random details, but it's not really worth it for me right now. But it's more of just a lot more elements I didn't like than I liked. But at least I can appreciate it, I think. At least I can. I originally, when I was, like, playing it, I'm like, man, when we fucking talk about this game, I'm going to chew at a new fucking asshole. And I'm like, no. It doesn't deserve that. It's old. It's fine. It had its moment in history. Will I play this game again? Hell no. Do I get why people want it? Yes. Would I play a remake of it? Maybe. They fix a lot of the controls. But I do like some of the level designs. I like the creativity in it. It's unique. A lot of cool shit. I if anything, though, I'll say I like this more than Sonic Adventure 2. And that's I didn't think I was going to say that. I thought it was going to be worse because it was the first one. I thought Sonic Adventure 2 would improve. I say Sonic Adventure 2 has a more crazy, like, story somehow. And just, like, the dialogue is, like, campy funny. When this game, I think, was much more just, like, bad. Just bad.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I guess that's all my thoughts just off the top of my head. I didn't write, like, I have, like, stuff written down, like, about each part. But, like,
yeah, as we go through, we'll hear more.
But, like, yeah, that's just my
specifics. General,
like, feelings where it's just very conflicted, very, like, I wanted to like it, even though my expectations are pretty low and, like, I guess negative. I wanted to like it. I get it. But sorry, Sonic fans, this doesn't age well. I wouldn't recommend someone playing this. If someone, like, wanted to get into Sonic, I would not recommend this game unless they were, like, really into Sonic and really into, like, old video games. And I say maybe. But, like, for me, I'm like, there's a reason why we play new shit sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I like to play more newer shit personally, just because mechanics are better and whatnot. I like to leave this in the past.
Okay. I'm weirdly one of these people that I noticed whenever, like, a Nintendo Direct comes out or whatever, I pop off for the retro re-releases way more than, like, the new shit. And I'm like, what does it say about me? Or, like, I'm often realizing, like, hey, I would love to go back and play this game. I have a whole bunch of new shit to play, but I would love to just go back and play a game I've beaten 10 times before. So I'm a little different in that case. My history, I never really played this as a kid. I have memory of that first level, and I'm not sure if it was like the GameCube demo disc I had, or I was at a friend's house that had it.
I've seen it before. I don't know if it's. I feel like don't they make reference to it in one of the new Sonic Generations or something? Isn't there a level?
No,
or something like that?
Not that one.
But I agree with you. I've definitely seen it. It's an iconic level or whatnot.
It's a fucking whale. Everyone knows the fucking whale.
Yeah.
Even more than the truck, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I never really touched. I also played this without ever playing it before. But I played Sonic Adventure 2 forever as a kid on my Nintendo GameCube. I never owned a Dreamcast. As you can tell, I was mystified by the fact that this thing had an Ethernet port on it. So obviously I didn't have one as a kid. But the GameCube version of Sonic Adventure 2, called Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, was one of my first GameCube games. Like maybe my third, after like Zelda and like Pokemon Coliseum or something. I don't know. This was my favorite video game as a kid, up until I found another game or whatever that I decided this is now my favorite. I played that game like basically every day. So I know that game inside and out. Did I 100% it? Hell no. Some of those things were way too hard. But like I played it so much. So going to this one is almost, to me, was like kind of not looking forward to it, but kind of was. Because I figured it's probably not going to be as good as that game. Which, even though I love it so much, I know its problems, and I'm not going to defend them, besides the fact that, well, think 2001, well, think Dreamcast, well, think all these things are bouncing and blah, blah, blah. Besides that stuff, I don't defend that game. So I'm thinking, this is going to be that but worse, so to speak, because it's their first attempt. It's a launch title.
Yeah.
I love launch titles for consoles. I find them so fascinating. And what their ideas that they do, and then you look at the system and its end goal and how different they are. Like I think about like my PS5 launch title was Demon's Souls. I think that looks amazing. That's my Sonic Adventure going, wow, this is amazing. What's an end goal for PS5 going to look like? So I love launch titles for that reason, right? So I'm like, okay, but that's really early. And like even in an interview with Yuji Naka, someone asked like, how much are you pushing the boundaries of the Dreamcast? And he's like, well, this being a launch title, like we're still figuring it out. We're trying to get our best and we're pushing it. But soon after, you will see things that push the Dreamcast more than we do. So even then, like he knows, right? So that's the way it is. But then like I'm also kind of excited before coming in because I'm like, I fucking love Sonic Adventure 2. And the one thing I wanted was more levels. I'm getting more levels. You know what I mean? I'm getting more of that. And I found the game easier than Sonic Adventure 2 in a couple different ways. Number one, because, again, I know the camera. I know how the jump physics work. I know the fact that Sonic can stand still, jump into a low ceiling, and just stay there because it's time-based. The momentum doesn't stop. Like, I knew all of these things going, and it feels like second nature. And the levels are just straight up easier. Besides maybe a couple key instances and a couple boss fights, the levels are easy.
Especially the later part of like Sonic Adventure 2, like I struggled with a lot.
Oh my god. And like, hey, I struggled with that on my 100th playthrough of that game. You know what I mean? But here it's like there are pitfalls and there are like bullshit instances, ways of dying, but like way more forgiving. I like to think about when we'll get to it when we talk about the levels, but Windy Valley's second half, where you're in like these tracks in the sky spiraling down. And all I could think about when playing that is like, A, I'm having a lot of fun with this. But also like, if this was a Sonic Adventure 2 level, there wouldn't be guardrails on the side. There was a chance you could fall off. They would make it so that you could fall off if you weren't being skillful. This game almost doesn't give a shit. Is some of it due to inexperience in making these types of levels? Absolutely. Is it also trying to make sure that they're not making it too hard for people playing this game for the first time? Because Yuji Naka is out there trying to get casual players to come in with the chow stuff and the fishing and stuff like that. New players for action games was also like an idea about how to grab people in. Launch of a system, easy. I'm excited about this new console. I'll get the Sonic game. I know who he is. Oh, and there's fishing in it. Perfect. I love Sega Bass Fishing. I'll get this one because there's Sonic fishing. A Sega Bass Fishing actually kind of is.
I know.
Kind of like Crazy Taxi in a weird sense. But yeah, no, the levels to me feel easier in those ways. And so like overall, I had a lot of fun with this game. There are parts of it where I'm like really annoyed. I'm glad Sonic Adventure 2 got rid of the hub areas and just made a map that you clicked the level you wanted to play. You didn't need to talk to people. You didn't need to find a stupid hint fairy to tell you where to go. You didn't need all that stuff. Yes, were we playing on a time crunch? Sure. If we were the Dreamcast launch day crew, we'd be playing that game because we were excited for it, and we spent how much money on the console in the game? We'd be spending god-awful amount of time playing it. We would explore everything. So I get it. Contexts are different in how we played it. We're also playing this in 2021 when we're playing on 2010 ports of the game based off a PC version in 2004, which is based off a GameCube version in 2003. That's also weird changes of it, right?
Yeah.
Contexts are different. You can't take away from that. But for me, overall, broadly, I think Sonic's gameplay is top-notch, as top-notch as it could be of this era. It feels almost sometimes better than Sonic Adventure 2, sometimes worse. Tails I found very easy and very straightforward and just feels like you're playing more Sonic stuff. Knuckles was not as annoying. As Amy Sonic I found Adventure was 2? Okay.
Yeah.
Amy I thought was okay. Big the Cat was boring, but I get it. And the robot stages, E102 Gamma stages were very fast. You just fly through those. So that's my overall opinions. I kind of like the fact that they tried to make a city. Find it very weird. They don't give an explanation why these animal characters are living in a city and why no one is weirded out about it. How did they get here? Were they always here? Was this place always here? Why is Station Square 2 rooms?
It's like
does Sonic live in that hotel?
If anything, it's a very like utopian world where like it's so diverse, no one questions anything. And I'm like, honestly, that is the future I want.
So diverse, but only cute couples get into Twinkle Park.
That is the only that's a little derogatory. I think we need to fix that up. But besides that, like a lot better than our current society.
Sure.
Literally, Gamma is just walking around with a fucking gun through the city. No one blinks an eye. The cop hits me.
Nothing happens.
Nothing. He's like, bro,
my favorite part.
In the way it happens. I just keep going my day.
My favorite part. You walk into the back area of Station Square. Every time, immediately hit by a car. Every time. Because the car comes off screen and hits you.
Yeah.
Every fucking time, unless you jumped right away, you get hit by a car.
I love it. Stops. But like, no one cares in this world. And that shout out to I don't know about the whole. When I first saw that it was called SS Grand Station SS, I'm like, excuse me. I was like, what does SS stand for? What do you mean?
Station Square.
And I didn't realize until later. I'm like, oh, okay.
My favorite NPCs, and I forget which character I was playing as, which adventure this is technically. It might be Tails or Knuckles. It's either one of those two. The pool area. There's a man flanked by 2 women in bikinis. It's the same character model. They look identical, which is hilarious because they both realized he was cheating on them with the other one. And he can't decide which one. And I'm sitting there being like, bro, they're the same. They're exactly the same. She got 12 polygons. She got 12 polygons. Y'all look the same, ladies. Your textures, that's a 13 by 13 pixel eyelash if I see one. You know what I mean? Your swimsuit, that's a triangle.
There was one small part I quickly want to mention was I was being the cat. I went to the hamburger place, and I talked to him, and he's like, "Whoa!" Like he said something like, "Well, you're so big. I wonder how many hamburgers you could eat," or something like that. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And at that point, I was getting really frustrated because that was the last part I did, and I'm like, I just want to get through this fucking bullshit. And I'm like, at least that made up for it. I'm like, at least I got to read that.
So you know how there's a statue of a man outside you can pick up?
No.
Oh, well, okay. I never realized that until Big the Cat, because you could pick him up as Sonic. It just looks like one of the old men. He has arms out and he doesn't move, and you can pick him up. And, like, I'm Big the Cat. In that section, you're supposed to pick up the car. And because I tried picking the car up from the wrong side, it didn't let me, so I assumed you don't pick up the car.
Yeah.
There's a little girl standing in the center of the area. So it's like, wow, you're so big. I wonder how I bet you could pick up really big things. Show me. And then I pick up this man I don't realize is a statue. and you just pick him up. And I'm like, here. I'm like showing her, like, I could pick up a man. Nothing happens. And then you throw the man, he disappears. I'm like, I'm still thinking that's a person. I'm like, holy shit. There's someone across the street that says, wow, it looks really real, huh? That's a statue they have outside the hamburger shop.
To be fair, I think everyone dies.
Yeah, 9/11 happens in this game.
Well, it's worse than
no
that.
one gives a shit.
Literally, the day after tomorrow happens. Like, a tsunami, or not a tsunami, it's just like, all of a sudden, you're just walking the street, all of a sudden, it just floods from the
sea level rises 40 feet.
And it's windy, I think, because all the buildings look like they got wrecked. Yeah, it was just wild. Everyone's dead. You don't run, you can't evacuate from that.
It's so crazy. Why did they do that? Because guess what? Characters don't give a shit. They think everything's solved when they make the creature that killed everyone happy. Excuse me? That thing needs to die. I don't care if it's confused.
I wrote that
it
down.
Dies.
I'm like, the kaiju needs to go.
It needs to die. I don't care if the dead Knuckles lady is going to take him to a happy place because he was misunderstood or now he understands things. It needs to pay for that.
You know who else is misunderstood? Godzilla. He still killed people. They still got to take him out.
Right. Exactly. You don't get to be redeemed. You don't get to be redeemed. I think Sonic's Forces brought him back.
I think
and
so.
in the context about that, because it wanted to be like, here are all the villains and here's the strongest villain of them all. And they bring that back and I'm like, in hindsight now I'm thinking like, I thought he was happy. This is why you needed to kill him.
Therapy didn't
Seriously.
work.
And that character, Chaos is his name. He's basically water. Or Chow-House. Or just Chows, I guess.
Chows.
Chaos is basically made of water simply because the Saturn couldn't make water look like that. So Yuji Naka, or someone, I forget who it was like, hey, let's try to showcase this Dreamcast console a little bit. Saturn couldn't do water, probably PlayStation couldn't do water, Nintendo 64 could do water.
Honestly,
but
the water looks better
water
than CSGO's water.
Now, granted, the water we saw is the GameCube's water. The GameCube could do water very well. Not a lot of people realize the GameCube was the most
GameCube
powerful
water?
console.
2 thumbs up.
Well, Nintendo did that. I mean, Mario Sunshine only exists because the GameCube could do good water. I'm not joking.
I just like
that's why it's island theme.
GameCube could do good water.
They have a name for it, like the temporal engine or something like that. How they did water. So Sonic Adventure DX took advantage of that on the GameCube. Yeah, he's made out of water because of that. But what's hilarious, they wanted to show this console so groundbreaking. It can do things that the previous consoles could not do. So our main villain's made of water. But for his final form, they wanted him to be full of scales, but they couldn't do it due to the console's technical constraints. It's like, well, you shouldn't have done this idea then, because then you showed it wasn't that great anyway.
I still think he was cool, by the way. As a big monster movie fan, I did like his entrance. I thought it was pretty good, and I did like that, oh shit, he here. And we didn't know what he looked like. He just appeared. And he reminded me a lot of people who know me, know I love my Godzilla. There's a Godzilla monster called Biollante, which is basically a plant version with tentacles and a big mouth. Reminded me a lot of that. If I read somewhere that they were influenced by that, which could be possible because that movie came out in 93, 92, so maybe. But remind me of that, so.
Could be possible.
So 2 thumbs up. I'm going to give it a kaiju rating, 2 thumbs up.
And it's the thing with video game history and preservation and the pursuit of knowing more about classics. There's so many inspirations drawn from everywhere. You got people like famous video game composers for Final Fantasy and shit, literally just listening to so many songs and then inadvertently ripping them off without realizing it. And people are like, oh, it's inspiration. Or I like to think about how many people are there are so many games out today. And a game could be so iconic that you might never play. I think about Undertale. I've never played it. I understand kind of what it's about, understand its influences. But Undertale is very specific and it does interesting things apparently. And I understand you could be a brilliant person, Devin, just suddenly, because you're not right now.
Yeah.
You could be brilliant and smart, and you can make a game that has similar things in it, and years later people will be like, oh, he was heavily inspired by Undertale, but you probably weren't because you never even played it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like people make up inspirations almost because it feels convenient, or because it's a likely idea because we don't know. Or like, oh, why is Final Fantasy called Final Fantasy? And you have like 4 different answers. None of them are right. You know what I mean? Just because a lot of that happens. So we might never know. It could very easily be like, oh, someone had that on Laserdisc, that 1993 Godzilla film, or whatever format it was available on, watched it a bunch, and just inadvertently made a monster that looked similar. Very could be. Yeah. I don't like Chaos's other versions at all, besides maybe his humanoid one.
Yeah, he's
but
very like
they're all bad.
He's very like Genki, like froggy, like
it's just a lot of like just tendrils with big pods at the end. Like he's made up like basically beads, beads and limbs. I don't like him overall. I don't understand Eggman's end goal with him at all either.
I mean, I lost track of the plot pretty quick, and also like doing all the different adventures. It was kind of hard for me to, like, I knew what the timeline was, but I'm like, shouldn't the stone, the windstone be here by now? I'm confused. Whatever. I just stopped caring. I'm just like,
but you don't understand, Devin. This is according to Yuji Naka. This all makes sense because Sonic is attacked by Knuckles at one point, but when you play Knuckles, you'll realize why you attack him. It's like, and I still don't. He just decided to.
I get it, but like, I'm saying like more of just like, how is this stone chilling here? Why is this entrance open now? I thought at this point these characters should be here.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't. Who cares?
Sonic and Tails are a lot like that too. Where like, when does Tails show Sonic the Chaos Emerald? It's in 2 different parts, depending on which story you were playing, right, and locations. But yeah, so overall, the game has 6 characters. Sonic, Tails, you know them all, right? They got different gameplay styles.
We should rank, by the way, each adventure we liked at the end or something.
Okay. At any point, you can go to one of the 3 different Chow Gardens, depending on which hub area you are in. There are some mini games that you unlock as you play. As you play through Sonic, he meets all the characters, and it's kind of like, hey, like now you could play as this and that. You could technically play them in any order, really, but there is a set order how you play them. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Big, Gamma. But you don't have to play them that way. But like they're kind of set up where like, oh, why did Gamma take Froggy from Big? And then you play, Gamma stage and it's like, oh, I know why, right? But like, and then it almost makes like if when Gamma takes Froggy from Big the cat, from Big's perspective, not feel like it matters or like anything because you already know. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's definitely written in an order, but you don't have to play them in that order. There are a variety of stages for each character. Sonic has the most by far. Most of the other characters have 5. Some character like Amy has 3. Tails has a mini game that honestly feels like it was its own level. Then I didn't realize it wasn't a level. Sandhill I thought was a level. That's just a mini game. Feels like a level to me.
Yeah, there was like random like side, not missions, but just like side stages.
Exactly. Each action stage, as they call them, with each character has technically 3 objectives. You play through it once, cool, you beat it. Then for the most part, each character is as simply as, can you beat it while having 50 rings? And Froggy in Big the Cat stages, can you beat it while catching a big fish first? And then the third one is always, can you beat it under this time constraint for the most part? And Big the Cat, no time constraint, just catch an even bigger fish before you catch the frog. So that's how it's kind of set up for replayability. Then you have all the Chow stuff that's, again, as we mentioned, becomes your end goal because it just takes longer to do that than the other stuff.
Speed running, like I feel like after you collect everything and whatnot, there really isn't too much else to do.
But I mean, you have hub areas to explore with some buildings to go into. Each hub area has a secret Chow egg. Did you find any of those? I found all 3.
If I did, I don't remember.
There's a shop in Station Square that has a golden Chow egg on it that if you try to leave with it, the door's shut. So you Indiana Jones it by finding a rock outside and swapping it. There's a puzzle in Mystic Ruins to get one. There's a Chow egg, a black Chow egg, in jail in the egg carrier.
I remember seeing that, and I thought it was an egg, but I wasn't sure what it was. I didn't know if it was a
Yeah,
glitch
that was
or
an egg.
just it was just a little hey, this is a different character, or something, just a random thing. Dust.
No, I mean, you can press a button to open it, and then if you carry the egg to a Chow Garden entrance, you can walk in with it, and then you have the egg. But yeah, there's a secret one and all that. So there's secret stuff they're trying to do. Some hub areas have secret areas.
There's secret stuff, and I feel like they just never even hint at it. You know what I mean? This is the time period of that where
yeah. Which excites me because I like things that oh my God, I had no idea.
I've said this how many times on this show. I like my hand being held. You gotta let me know about that shit, or else I just won't give a shit.
Sure, but if it's not important and then you somehow find it later, you feel wow, that's really cool. I like that shit. I like the mystery of 20 years later, we found a secret in this GameCube game. I like that kind of shit personally. But yeah, your hub area connects all the levels. However, and I'm not sure if this is after you beat a character's adventure or maybe just as each level goes, from the title screen, you can do what they call trial, where it's essentially just a level select. It still adds rings to your total and all that stuff. So you are actually making progress if you want to collect rings to buy stuff in the GameCube version, which we played the HD ports of. Oh yeah, Devin played his on Steam. I played the PlayStation 3 version, so I was collecting trophies. Mostly the same version, though, for the most part. There's trial, and then, you're just kind of doing those stuff. Let's talk about Sonic now. Sonic's gameplay, his story, and let's talk about his first level. So, we kind of talked about it overall, really. Sonic's homing attack, he runs.
Yeah.
Camera angles are changing dynamically to frame things as perfect as they could, or just how they wanted to frame things. And overall, his gameplay is very fast, obviously, very loose. It's very easy to fly off randomly. But if you kind of just let the levels take you, I feel then you have a good time.
There was a couple times I flew off. I don't think on the first level, but there's other levels. But it's not as bad as Sonic Adventure 2, which we mentioned earlier, which had a lot of you just fly off and fuck you if you don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you only have 2 lives at the very end of the game, and these levels go on for 15, 20
Start it
minutes.
over.
Start over, yep.
Yep, for sure.
But yeah, there's definitely less. It's interesting that you'd think it'd be the opposite, but yeah, this feels a lot more grounded. But also, there's some cool elements, cool little loops that you go through and whatnot. I always like loops in Sonic levels, more loops.
Absolutely,
yeah,
exactly. In this game, this first level, Emerald Coast, has a double loop, has a couple double loops in it. But yeah, now my only thing about this, and this is true with Adventure 2 as well, and honestly, the series going forward, but definitely in this first game for sure, and especially shown in this first level. Sonic's gameplay, while fast and fun, people like to talk about how the game almost plays itself. In some degrees, that's true. Often, obviously, it's not. But the focus comes from the fact that springs and the treadmill treadmill pads, do a lot of heavy lifting for directing you where you need to go and giving you speed to do so. And inadvertently making you feel like you're having fun. The whale section, you're not moving. You don't need to do anything. You put the controller down, Sonic run because he keeps hitting track pads that keep pushing him, hits the ramp. More track pads, right? Now, would that be as cool and fun if the player did it themselves? They'd probably 9 times out of 10 on their first try not make it through because they'd hit a corner because they're 90-degree turns and they fall off, or just the whale catches up or whatever. I get it. I guarantee, I bet there's even, it's impossible to even get caught by the whale. Whatever. It's a set piece thing, right?
And I will say I like that, though. I'd rather they just turn your controller off, basically, for those kind of sections. That makes it fun. I think it's still, knowing times I've seen it, I think it's still cool.
And like, I agree. And then like series as a whole, now we think about that idea of having set piece type events where a player doesn't really have much control, if any at all. As long as they're executed very well and they make you feel cool, keep them. It's worth it. But I just noticed that comparing this game to the last Sonic platformer, Sonic and Knuckles, a lot of heavy lifting done by springs and trackpads, getting the player to where they need to go, where the level needs to take them. Zip lines in Red Mountain, like lots of stuff like that. But it makes the pace feel like it's more vertical than Sonic's 2D ever did. It really does make use of like a 3D space going in and out of the screen, as well as obviously camera not necessarily side-scrolling, if at all, really, in this game. You have in Emerald Coast here, series of islands where you're often going in and up and around and out. It isn't just through, it isn't just around, you're going up and over. There's a few of them that are like that. You go up and then in and around, right? That, like, it's hard to do that and be fast without a spring to just bounce you where you need to go. I don't know.
For the first level, it's fine. I mean, especially for the first level, it should be way too easy, if anything, because like you don't want to like have it be super difficult and then you're like, okay, I'm done.
Exactly. Emerald Coast is that first level. It's a beach themed.
Who doesn't like the beach? You know what I mean?
Exactly, and the fact that it even opens up at like beach tables and stuff. And I think Sonic's credits picture at the end is him at one of those tables. I'm pretty sure, where it says Finn, because they need to be fancy. Finito,
yeah.
Finn, or whatever it is.
I think it was.
Yeah,
Finn.
And then you're island hopping, and it's a lot of fun. There's loop-de-loops, there's the whale, there's a lighthouse. After that, it cuts, and then the music changes, and you're like almost in what feels like inside a larger island, and then it goes back to island stuff, and you just end in the middle of nowhere. But it's still a fun time.
And Tails is just chilling.
Yeah, he's just crashed and then just days sitting in the sand. Sonic finds him. Yeah. Do you like that level overall? Is this one of your favorite levels, or is this?
I think there's like 2 or 3 Sonic levels that I really like, and that's one of them. I mean, it's a classic, obviously, with the whale. So everyone remembers it clearly, whether they played it or not.
And then next up, our next 2 levels, Windy Valley and Casinopolis. Yes, I think that's how you pronounce it, Casinopolis. Windy Valley is my favorite Sonic level because it's a lot of... It just has this like light, like just anything can happen kind of like feel and vibe to it. The music's fantastic to it. It gets exciting with a tornado, and then there is just... the thing I feel like people just want in Sonic games as a kid, at least somewhere, just an area where you can just go really fast for a somewhat longish time and nothing will stop you. That last half with just the ramp, just the track in the sky, and you're just running and you're going at top speed and it feels good. Yeah, I like that level quite a bit. There's even parts in it where he runs on the air, or the breeze takes him. It's really just a set rail that they just force him to run on. But it just feels like, I don't know, kind of wonderful. What did you think about that level?
Yeah, I generally agree. There was moments where like I flew off or whatnot somehow.
Okay.
So it was a little frustrating with that. But it wasn't often enough to where I was like, or maybe it was my fault. It felt more like my fault than the game being bullshit. That it didn't make me like be like, oh, let me get this level over with or whatnot. So yeah, I thought it was fine. It's definitely up there for me. But to be honest, I kind of forgot about that one. Maybe because it's been a minute since I played that part. But I remember Casinopolis a little bit more because it's more like a secondary hub than anything. But
yeah, tell me about Casinopolis.
Yeah, so like you first took me forever to figure out how the fuck to get into it, and then when I did get into it, very lively. But yeah, there's like two pinball machines, and then there's like another little area where they actually. But in the pinball machine, if you fail, you get to an area, which I thought was interesting. At first, I was a little like taken aback from it, but then once I got used to it, I'm like, okay, if I want to get back here, I purposely have to fail in the pinball thing. But I like pinball games, so that was cool. Like, but I was getting mad where I was like, no, I thought I was doing well, and like he kept like flying all over the place. I feel like mine was bugged or something. But like, I was really trying to get into it because I was like, no, I want to win this fucking pinball. I want to get the high score. I was more intrigued by that. Not saying that the levels are bad, but just like, because I know Sonic has had pinball games, so I'm just like, man, this makes me want to try those because like those are fun.
And one of those
video games.
One of those pinball tables is based off Nights into Dreams.
Yep.
The whole thing, including like I think, basically took like the first level as like a way you can like Sonic just basically rolls into it slowly in and out, and it's basically they recreated that Nights level kind of floating behind the table. But yeah, that one's really cool. I like that the objective isn't get to the end; it's win 400 rings, and you can then get to the Chaos Emerald. Like the money is forcibly shaken out of Sonic to make like platforms for you to stand on to get to it. But my favorite part about this level, I don't know if you saw this. There's a shower room. Did you find the shower room?
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember that.
You can walk in the shower room, and if you stay in a shower, Sonic takes a shower. Nothing happens. I love that. They programmed it so Sonic could take a shower. He has a unique animation where he takes a shower. That's it. Why does a casino have a shower?
Right there.
Exactly. There's no toilets. It's a literal shower room. Yeah, I guess Sonic is naked, so it's kind of fun. But yeah, I like the pinball stuff in it. I feel like it's a good fun change of pace.
Until the Knuckles level, that in the middle there is a Sonic statue.
Which it's that statue is the Dreamcast character model. They didn't update it for the GameCube one, so it's the old character model.
Which adds to our whole like lore question of like what is the city? Why
is Sonic famous?
Yeah, is he like president, mayor, or something? I don't know.
But not even just Sonic, but like the non-Knights table, the one that's Sonic themed, has Sonic and Tails. I think Knuckles. It has Eggman in it and like in the slots, right? Very weird, but yeah, it feels very nice. I almost kind of wish that the level came later for a pacing structure, because you get two fun levels after Windy Valley. I'm like kind of wanting another one of those. So then this feels weird to get here. But if it was later on, where after I'm kind of getting tired of it, now we relax and do pinball. I feel like the pacing would be better if they left it for later.
Yeah.
But I get it's not really too much stakes. If you fail in the pinball, you get thrown in the trash.
I switched it a little easier to get there. Like I didn't like the whole like gotta press the button in the top. It's like, bro, just let me get into it. We need to do it for every other character too, and like some of the characters, it's not that easy to hit the button. Like with Knuckles, you had to climb on the one building and then fly, and the camera doesn't let you see where you're going. You kind of have to just throw a dart.
Pray.
Yeah.
But if you're like me and you played Sonic Adventure 2 as a kid forever, you got used to the spatial awareness of what's off screen. Not saying that that's like a pro gamer strat, but you just got used to it.
Yeah, and it wasn't too bad, but it was just like, I was like, how do I have to do this? And like once I figured it out, I'm like, man, I'm just glad I've played Sonic Adventure 2 or like whatnot, because it would have been even more difficult to find that. There's like it's just so weird when there's moments in this game where it's like accessible. I think there's moments when it's not, and those were one of the examples. But this is like that's how it was back then. Like where video games, I feel like we're still made to be like difficult and challenging, more so than.
And I feel like people like to be like, oh, people had tougher skin or whatever. They had more grit. I don't even think it's that. I just feel like, oh man, this is tough. Not necessarily being like, oh, this is bad or oh, this isn't done very well. You know what I mean? And just people have more time to spend with these.
This wasn't done very well. Now like there's a difference in Demon Souls and trying to land on the next like rail that Sonic could grind on in Sonic Adventure 2 in space.
And the rail grinding was introduced in Sonic Adventure 2, but playing this, I like forget about that because it almost feels like, from Sonic Adventure 2 onwards, rail grinding is a staple in every Sonic level. Everywhere, right? Everywhere. Someone's going to show an example of it not being the case, but like you understand what I'm saying. It's everywhere. It's fun and integral. You almost think that like, oh man, Sonic's gameplay is going to be like more boring because it doesn't have those in it. But I forgot about that. Yeah. It feels good enough. Honestly, it feels like, and honestly, the simpler it is, the less actions you have as the player have to do, and the less finicky it's going to be. But yeah, let's talk about our next two levels, Ice Cap and Twinkle Park. For me, for Ice Cap, the platforming is easy, but it's annoying when you fail. The icicles are very slow and lame and almost kind of, I feel like, encourages you to go fast and fuck up and fall down in that weird inside the ice cave. Honestly, the worst part in Sonic's set of levels is that middle ice part where you're just trying to get up and out. It's supposed to be a little puzzly, I get it, but it's weird. However, I did find a very easy shortcut in the very beginning that you can skip that whole thing entirely.
Oh.
Yeah.
But at least there was the snowboarding part. That made it worth it. That was one of my favorite parts in the game.
The snowboarding is so fucking top-notch, and I get how simple it probably is in comparison to other types of gameplays to implement, but like, you look at the fishing. Now, granted, we did the fishing well after the snowboarding, but I replayed a lot of the levels. I did all of Sonic's levels again after I beat all the characters, just to refresh myself, because that was the first one I did. But you look at the fishing, you're like, wow, they made fishing, but like they made a whole bunch of different gameplays, so they're not all super deep. So the fishing's really boring. The shooting's very just basic. The treasure hunting is just the platforming, but slower, right? But the snowboarding feels like there's way more thought put into it than the other things. But in actuality, it's probably not. But it's really fucking good. It feels fast. It feels fun.
And even when I was hitting
hard
shit,
to lose.
It really wasn't like slowing me down that much.
You don't lose. Maybe you can, but I never lost.
Yeah.
It's really fun, honestly.
And I grew up with like playing games like SSX and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like I think it's hard to like obviously look at it from that way because back then you had like cool borders and shit like that. But like it just made me appreciate like how much I liked SSX again. I was playing that. I'm like, man, wish I could play that game again, or like just play a good snowboarding game, I wasn't expecting that. Despite it being an ice world, I was really expecting more of the platforming, which I don't like, and the fact that like that was the latter half of it, and I'm like, okay, this went from like being a level I don't like to being one of my favorite parts in the game. It's just like
even though that middle section's terrible.
Yeah, I forgot
but it
about
has
that
the
middle
snowboarding
section until you talked about it. That's how good the snowboarding. I literally made a note of just like, hell yeah. Snowboarding favorite level.
Exactly. And Sonic makes a weird face before the avalanche comes after him. And it's crazy too because like, and I like this as well. Sonic Adventure 2, again, I love that game. City Escape, fucking best level in Sonic ever. It opens with snowboarding on San Francisco Hill streets, right? Very tough to do that flawlessly. Very tough. It's easy for you to lose the board and just have to run the rest of it. So it's weird to think that, before that they made an awesome snowboarding section of a level.
I almost wonder
where you can't fuck up.
If it would be better if they kept like the same mechanics and everything and didn't have you lose the skateboard or whatnot, made it much more linear.
My little tiny theory is that because Sonic's second level in Sonic Adventure 2, Metal Harbor, ends with a very brief snowboarding section in a metal tunnel, it's very brief. Part of me thinks that they thought about trying to do that mechanic in every single one of these levels, and I feel like that would have been cool if they did. And maybe, hey, I would love that in a few. You want to make a Sonic Adventure 3? You want to make different characters? You want to have Shadow and Sonic be different? Sonic's levels have the boarding in it. Something like that,
Or
right?
have a new character that is specifically skateboarding or something. Like
They actually do have Jet the Hawk in the Sonic Free Riders.
every time I think of something, it's already been done.
But those are racing
original.
games. But that's a character that rides a board.
Hell yeah, dude.
So maybe he
Let
still
me
runs
grind,
fast,
bro.
but there are
Let me grind,
sections
bro.
in the boards.
Everyone likes Tony
Exactly.
Hawk, and they brag about the Tony Hawk game, and they sold well. Take a little flyer on that. Make a skateboarding game. Sonic Skateboarders. There you go.
Sonic skateboarders. Exactly. Next level is Twinkle Park. What do you tell me? Tell me about Twinkle Park.
It just at this point in the game, I was starting to get like, trying to like the pacing. I felt like was a little weird, and like the whole, because I don't remember at this point if I'm trying to remember like if this is the part right before you get to the egg carrier. It just felt like the game was wrapping up, and then it kept going, and like it was fine, but it just like it just wasn't vibing with me for whatever reason. Just felt very chaotic for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
It's an amusement park that
and I usually
opens
like
with
amusement
like
park shit too, like in games and.
yeah, it opens with like a bumper car / race thing.
Yeah.
which goes on too long. I understand that that's the basis for like an actual Twinkle Circuit mini game race thing. Which, by the way, since we're talking about that, so that's a mini game that you can play after you beat the level. Which I thought you need to beat the mini game to leave that room, but you don't. That mini game is just one track, but you could download more tracks in the Dreamcast version that they made over time, different skins to them and stuff like that, different tracks. So that's interesting. But yeah, it's a theme park thing. The main level itself is all centered around a castle, so you're running basically around it, slowly getting closer to the center almost before going up on top. And it's very easy to get visually lost and think maybe you got back to the beginning. I like spent time trying to think, is there a way for me to skip one giant section and just hop to an like later on in the level because it's technically a fence over? Very easy to fall down and just have to replay a section of the game. I don't like that in 3D platformers, where if you fall, you have to just redo shit.
Yeah, I think
it's not even just a
that's
death.
part of the reason it was chaotic, because everything felt so similar, and then a lot of like random enemies and like bombs from the fucking monkeys and whatnot. Just
their names are Kiki.
yeah, Kiki, do you love me? No.
So after Twinkle Park now, we have Speed Highway. Speed Highway was the level that many Sonic fans from nowadays might know as the level that was in Sonic Generations. This is right after Twinkle Park, before Red Mountain. This level is weird to me, and I have a theory about it. But I'm not 100% sure. I haven't delved too much into like the prototypes of this games and the history of like the level design and all that stuff. But Speed Highway, it starts at night. You're running across cityscapes. The cops are chasing you.
Yep.
You're going up and down. There's some construction equipment. At one point, Sonic grabs onto a helicopter, but you can get hurt by the helicopter blades if you jump into it. And then Sonic runs down a building, which is a lot more fun in this game than it was in Sonic Generations. It feels very much like, again, like the snowboarding. It's hard to fail, kind of. And then there's the last half of the level, which feels like a completely different level. It has upbeat, like AM radio music. I don't know if that the AM is like that, but it's like this yeah, the day's just starting type of music, and like it's just they just made a city. I wouldn't see this and call this Speed Highway. This is just a town, complete with a fountain and like bells and shit. My theory is like this was one of the first things they made just in general, and said here we go. It's called like At Dawn, Speed Highway at Dawn, because you play through it at night, and now the sun has come up. The cops are still out and about chasing you. Very, very bizarre. And like the level ends with you like hitting a fountain and going up, and then you go and you hit the capsule that releases the birds and the flying animals and shit.
Yeah.
This was definitely like not nearly as hard as it could be, considering that there's a lot of like empty platforms and stuff.
You have to
but
jump across
I don't
buildings and whatnot.
Yeah. What did you think about this level?
Yeah, no, I thought it was cool. I mean, in Sonic Adventure 2, they had a couple city levels, and I've always liked old video game like city landscapes and how like they've been done so differently in each type of game I've seen. Like, you know, whether it's 2D or 3D, I've always liked how they've games have tried to portray a city like skyline and whatnot. I think it's in like the first Sonic game that we did, the first Sonic game. I've always liked that, like the drawn like factories, like the Blade Runner looking shit in that one where it's supposed to be like a city / factory zone. But no, I like this. It was fine. Like kind of what you said, but totally forgot that this is in Sonic Generations. But now it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but it's only this first part. It's not the second half, which is again also to juxtapose it. First one has no floor. The last one has a floor, so almost it feels very much like two different levels that they just pieced together and said, "Oh, this is one." But I guess thematically, the thing that ties Sonic runs down a building and lands on the floor, so I guess it kind of works. Yeah, so that's that level. Next up, our next two levels, Red Mountain and then Skydeck. For me, Red Mountain is the level I remember the least. I do feel like this is also where the inspiration for Knuckles is
Pumpkin Hill.
Pumpkin Hill for sure, because it's like Halloween themed almost.
It's
almost towards
it's like
the
end. Fall
end.
just started.
And even the song that plays in the second half, while not hip hop, because it still has like lots of guitar and stuff,
I'm pretty sure
has a bit of that vibe to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I wrote a note. Like the, it had like a very just good sample. I really liked the sample. I don't know what they fucking sampled, but yeah, it was like a punk song or something like that. 90s
Almost,
punk,
right?
Punk.
Exactly. I feel like it's a nice mix of platforming sections and easy pathing. The outside first beginning areas, a lot of ziplining stuff that feels fun. Again, like the springs in the treadmill pads, like it's not really, it's taking control away from you, but it feels like you're going fast, going to new areas. I liked when you're inside the mountain and like the lava's rising. It doesn't feel like it's too annoying or hard, but it feels like, oh, I need to keep going up. So, and then we have Skydeck. What do you think about Skydeck?
That's the one that was technically on the egg carrier, right? That was like,
yeah,
I was worried about in the beginning because like it reminded me a little bit of the last couple levels in Sonic Adventure 2 that I struggled with, and I was like,
where there's no floor.
And I'm like, this is gonna be fucking brutal, and it wasn't brutal. It just was a little long, but like it was fine. The only thing I didn't like was having to doing the jump thing from each spinning thing
when it's. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I see.
I just felt it slowed me down for no reason. Like I get the change of pace, but like I don't know. I just wanted to keep moving, and That was the only thing I didn't
Yeah.
like. I did die a couple times because, like, I guess I wasn't quick enough or something. I don't know, but I just didn't like that part. But outside of it, like, it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be when I first started it, because it just reminded me immediately of, like, anything Robotnik themed, I just get nervous of.
It's tough,
Yeah.
right? They like make you think, oh shit, here we go.
Even that goes back to, like, the original Sonic game with, like,
I was
Chemical
just
Plant.
gonna say
Yeah.
that. Well, that Sonic Chemical Plant was Sonic 2, but that last level, which I forgot what it was called, it's just so much harder than the previous ones for sure. But this level adds a new mechanic with holding onto the pillars essentially and straddling alongside it. It's very bizarre to like try to cheese, as Tails very easy to just fucking skip that shit.
Yeah, thank God.
Just get up and fly away. And it's also very easy for you to just regain your flight by just fly straight into one and then jump right off. But as far as Sonic goes, little tough. I feel like the monkey bar thing you can do, they let you basically jump through it. So I would just jump into it and then just keep jumping through it. I wouldn't actually do the thing they wanted you to do. That you could just jump. Like, there's no collision. It's just like a grabbable thing. But I very much dislike the last half of this level. There is a bunch of things where, like, the level sideways, and that platforming, I kept falling down and down. Again, talking about Twinkle Park, where if you fail and you fall, you replay, and not from a death, but you have to redo shit.
Park, actually, with the mirrors.
Nope, that's Lost World.
Okay, good. Okay, there's
We'll get to
a
that.
couple that like blended in. I should have maybe replayed them again, but yeah, go ahead.
I hated the sideways portion in Skydeck. Falling down and having to just slowly go back up sucks. And then at the very end, there's a giant cannon, and it says, you need to shoot the rocket right at the cannon. I'm like, okay. And then, like, I'm trying to figure out how it works.
This is the part where my game crashed. It was right at the end there. Like, the very end where you have to shoot yourself out of the cannon or whatever, in there. It's like,
you grab a rocket, and it just flies into the cannon, but the cannon needs to be pointed at you. The cannon's constantly turning. So you need to find a new rocket that faces the cannon, which is shooting at you. I did not like that part at all. But the music, which is called Skydeck A Go-Go for the first section, very nice music. But yeah, we're starting to get to Sonic stuff. This last half of the level and onward is starting to get to the, oh boy, Sonic's getting a little tough now. Because our next level is called Lost World. All right, Devin, now tell me about Lost World.
yeah, fuck this level. Specifically because of the mirrors. And this is once me probably showing how bad of a gamer I am. Maybe who's ever listening to this played through that level, flew through it their first try. Well, fuck you, because I didn't. I lost all my lives and I started the whole level over. That was the first time up into that point I've done that, and I don't like losing. All right, I'm a sore loser. I don't want to lose. So like, yeah, the whole mirror thing like was getting annoying, very finicky, and like the issue it wasn't the mirrors itself, but just that area where I was trying to homing attack, and the dude shooting like the fireballs. Like I was getting confused of when you're allowed to hit them. And there's a couple of points where like even with the mirrors, you still couldn't see where you're jumping to, and I would just fall off, and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like I was getting agitated. But I lost 5. I had at one point I got that. The point at which I first got there, I had 5 total lives. I'm like, okay, I failed 2 times, whatever. I just kept losing lives because I just fell off or got hit by the fire or whatever it was, and I'm like, god damn. Then I got back there and I finally beat it after I like slowed down as much as I could. But then it took me 3 separate tries to get to finish this level, actually, because I died
3 whole full life cycles.
Yeah. Because the second time I finally got through the mirrors, I'm like, hell yeah, the fucking boulder came, and I went too fast that, like, I glitched and just fell.
Nice.
Like the ball, like I was running away from the ball, and it just like I just straight up fell to oblivion. I don't know what happened. And then like when I got back there, I'm like I didn't do anything differently, and I'm like I guess I just didn't load in. Like Sonic went too fast. I was trying to do what the game's telling me to do. I'm trying to go fast, trying to be Sonic. Clearly, sometimes you go too fast, you cut through particles and you die. But yeah, I had a note here for Tunnel of Fire part that I was able to see outside the map at one point. I guess I kind of glitched through that, and
really,
yeah. So I was able to see like the whole map construction, which was kind of neat for a brief second. But yeah, fuck that.
That happened to me in Emerald Coast. At one point, you run through a really tight tunnel, and like the camera moved at a weird angle, and I saw from outside in, seeing like the whole level structure. Yeah.
But yeah, fuck the whole that mirror section, and then fuck the game for just making me have to do it again because of the boulder glitch.
So Lost World is the worst level.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone. Okay, I'm glad like maybe you didn't struggle as much as me, but I'm glad that at least hear you say that I'm like okay, I fuck that level.
Yeah. The even Sonic Team spent the most time making this level than any other one. It was redone many, many, many times.
I think
this was very clearly. So I have the game. I actually have the game on Dreamcast, and on the back of the thing, it lists all the cool things about it. One of the things it says it has puzzles. It says we got huge levels, puzzles, hidden mini games, multiple playable characters, and more puzzles. I'm trying to think. Okay, yeah, you press a switch to open Casinopolis. That's technically a puzzle. If they want to talk about how role playing is really basically talking to people
and finding those are
puzzles. Yeah, that's kind of a puzzle. This is the puzzle level. Figure out the mirrors. Oh no, the boulder's chasing you. Run away, just like Indiana Jones. Now here's the fucking snake. The fucking giant stone. You talk about the mirrors pissing you off. That fucking snake level, you're just standing around waiting for the thing, the taxi to come pick you up. Then you stand on the snake. And then I'll jump on this one because it's the next one. Oh, nope, sorry.
Yeah, I actually figured out where everything was, all the buttons were. I'm like, why should I go after any of these? I just waited. Like, eventually, I think I had to do that 3 times. But yeah, I totally forgot about that. But like, I think I just more mad at the mirror section. But that one,
the mirror section,
at least
made
I thought
me
the snake was cool looking. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. And we got to go inside the temple.
Just a snake.
I like my snakes, but no, I agree with you. Like, it was like it. But it's one of these, I think, issues with this game is that like it wants you to explore, and I get they spent time on it, but like there was no reason for me to want to once I did it, because when I first got in there I did explore. I did go to every single platform, I think, for the most part, and I was like, okay, there's extra life here, cool, I'll grab that and some rings. I'm gonna lose my rings, so I know I'm gonna hit some bullshit enemy anyways, so like I try my best to collect rings, but like unless I was like around like the 70 range, I stopped. Like, in fact, like I'm like, I'm just gonna hit shit as long as I finish this level. That's all I care about. So like once I knew where like all the buttons were to change the water levels to get to where I needed to go,
just go for those. That's it. Yeah. Like the mirrors did make me mad too, and not necessarily the mirrors themselves. I thought it was kind of pointless. You run up, stand at the thing, point at the next mirror, or at a mirror.
Yeah.
But, like, it doesn't really feel like it does anything. And I almost wonder, like, do you even need to do this? I just kept doing it anyway because I kept, like you said, falling and dying. Or, like, some of the platforming was just weirdly a little bit too tricky. That's some Sonic Adventure 2 platforming where, like, it's a little bit too far than easy for a jump kind of a thing. And you don't have too much of a runway to get to speed to do the jump either. So you... so you homing attack, and you just jolt forward, and sometimes you miss.
Yeah.
For sure.
Or or there was one part where you jump from, like you couldn't like you had to like run and jump to get to the next like part, and I remember I did it.
Yeah.
And I realized if I homing attack, it'll go above the flaming dude, and like it'll hit you, and if you don't press anything else, you'll stop like maybe a couple feet from the edge of the other platform where you had to turn left, and I'm like. Once I figure that out, I'm just like, that's like
the tips and the tricks.
Yeah, I'm just like, damn, that's way too like sketchy though.
But like, as terms of like, and again, this isn't exactly the way the game is supposed to be played, so to speak. But like, it's all about going fast. But I get it. They wanted to make this an adventure, and you're exploring, and even the levels themselves, there's stuff to see. They wanted you to almost just see stuff too. Take it at a pace, not necessarily go fast, but all those Sonic levels, you're supposed to go fast in them, and when you get good. But you can't get good at waiting for a snake. You can't get good at like running to a stop to move a light source into a mirror.
There's got to be some crazy like way to like bounce off something and like get to the top.
Probably, but that's not intentional.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not the intended way. But again, the mirrors, that's not even a puzzle because it's not like you need to line them all up so they all bounce off each other. Like, it's like, no. You just move A to B, then C to D, then E to F. Not A to B to C to D, right? It's Lost World, I hate that level. And then there's even more, Devin. Then there is the running up the walls with the gravity section as well, where you have to hit different switches to move panels on the wall to make a path
this level
for Sonic to run on.
Think about it.
Exactly. And that section isn't even straightforward. Basically, it's a giant-ass room, and there's a little basket up top on one of the walls that it has the tunnel entrance to the rest of the level. Or the ending, or whatever. I think this is the order of how the level works. Maybe the snake's after this. I don't remember. Or maybe the snake was before this. I don't know. Because I hated this part too. Because it's not even just like, hit the switch and the next path pops up. Because if you hit the switch again, the panels move in a different orientation. It isn't one or the other. There's like, it rotates through different forms. And only one works. But the first time you hit it works. So if you fall down again, because this again, if you fall, you have to do this whole room again, because you're not dying. It's not going to take you to a checkpoint up ahead. You just start at the bottom, and now all your panels are moved out of sync. So now you're trying to repress them to be like, I think this was the way I was going. Hated this part.
And then when you're on like the side of the wall too, it's kind of difficult to control a little bit.
Yep. There was a part where I'm running on the side of the wall, and a falling spike trap, which is technically sideways coming at Sonic. For some reason, the hit detection on the spikes are taller than the spikes are, because I didn't physically get hit by anything, but the spikes hit my ass, and I fell down, and didn't die. I had to just get back up. I would rather die, because then it would reset the room. Instead, the room isn't reset, and it sucks.
Yeah.
The worst level in the game, by far. All right, let's talk about the last two levels, one of which is Sonic's level, and the other is the only non-Sonic level. Let's talk about the last level for Sonic, Final Egg. So, for me, when I see Final Egg, I'm thinking Eggman, haha, get it? But also, I'm thinking about Final Rush, the name of the last Sonic level in Sonic Adventure 2. With all of the grails in space and you're falling. And I'm thinking, and then, yeah, granted, I like that game. Don't really care for that level. It's a lot of like, you jump off something. If you want to like cheat, you got to jump off and hope you're lining up with a rail like hundreds of meters below you.
Yeah.
Because the game will let you fall. So I'm thinking this level is going to be like that. Honest to God, this level is very easy. It almost feels very nice and be like, oh yeah, I did have fun playing this game. Because we're coming back around to a fun level. Maybe I'm crazy here, but Final Egg actually wasn't that bad. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as like the ones you've mentioned. I still fell a couple times. I lost a life because I glitched through the elevator. They have to go down.
Really?
The elevator, like I just fell through it and then it just crushed me or something. I fell and I'm like, I got to that point. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Because there's no checkpoint for like a little while up into that, and I think the checkpoint's right after the elevator. So I remember getting that. I'm like, you're just slowing me down. You're just getting in my way. But there was a couple parts where I tried to cheat, where I tried to like fall, and like I just glitched through it again. I don't know if I'm doing things I'm not allowed to do, or just bad luck. I don't know, but I like how to get into the stage you have to hit buttons, and I couldn't figure out what the fucking puzzle is, but I just kept hitting buttons until it opened.
Yeah. The different like lights on the buttons.
You have to do it later as I think it was Amy, and like I just couldn't. I was like, I don't know how this works, and I kept like, and eventually I realized if I just press a bunch of buttons, eventually it'll work. I don't know the combination. But I would do it, and then like it would happen, but then I quickly press the button, and it would lock again.
I don't know.
So eventually,
but you could hit the same button.
Yeah. So eventually, I just kept like doing it, and like I still until now, I do not know the pattern. I have no idea how that works.
I mean, it's just one. So this is in the adventure field, as what they call the hub areas of the egg carrier. There is 6 or 5 or 7 buttons arranged technically in a line, but somewhere like a V shape. You hit a button. The buttons are also lights. You hit a button. Either that button or maybe that button plus another button or maybe 2 other buttons or maybe just one other button lights up or turns up. Basically on-off switches. And you want all the lights to be on.
Yeah.
So, okay, so button A might be the lights for button A and B. Button B might just be the light for button B. Button C might be D and F. Something like that, right? So you have to hit them.
Order of which I just kept...
And I don't think that there really is a set order. I mean, sure, if they're not randomized from the beginning of what state they're in, then I'm sure there's a quick solution. But it's just, you just keep doing it until you figure it out. I'm not a fan of puzzles like that. Yeah. Like we pushed a bunch of on-off switches.
To go back to the level, I did struggle fighting Eggman with that thing because it was just a little finicky.
The Egg Viper?
Yeah.
I died the most to that, for sure.
And then just
get a load of piss.
Get a load of this, get a load of piss.
And then eventually...
And I get like they used it as like a way to be like, hey, the missiles are coming, so like I get it. But I almost considered playing on mute because it got a little annoying when I lost all my lives. I finished it with 0 lives, luckily. And I'm like... And I got real mad because I was like, if I fucking die here. And I clutched it. I pulled some cold blood, pulled my Kobe Bryant, and I'm like, I need to finish this. I'm like, I can't, because I think this was the night I was trying to just finish the Sonic, and I was like 2.5 hours that session. I'm just like, I know this is the end of the game. I can't die here. And I'm like, I know the pattern. I just gotta take my time and dodge these missiles. But yeah, get a load of this.
Get a load of piss. Similar for me. I did all the Sonic stuff in one sitting. But it was the same thing of like, all right, I'm almost done. This is the final boss, I think. Maybe there's another boss after this. I don't know. I really hate this. I died more on this than like the rest of the game. Honest to God, the entire rest of the game, all characters included, combined, I died the most on this.
I believe
I went through many life cycles on this. The boss takes way too many hits, but it's not like a skill you can do multiple hits if you're good enough. It's like, no, it's just a set sequence of events. And if you fail one of the sets, you just redo that set, so to speak. Unless you die, in which you restart the entire boss fight, right? He does, and what I don't like is that he does the same pattern on what you're supposed to do many times in a row, and then then all of a sudden every single one of them is different. Yeah. And now he's just destroying platforms, and now he's rushing you, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. He's sending out tops that you're supposed to stand on, and I'm like,
yeah, I didn't figure that
careful
out. I
here,
died
Ethan.
So many times at that section, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And and it's one of those boss fights where like you're it's like doing something over and over again. Eventually, you're gonna start messing up because it's being repetitive, human tendency. And it was at the point where I'm like, okay, I know I can get back to those spinning spike platform things. I don't know what I have to do when I get there. I think the game eventually gave me a hint and said you had to like jump on it and then homing attack when you get close. And I'm like, okay. But like that was after like I lost 4 lives and I'm like, I'm at my last one or second to last one, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, I was just getting there. Then I was dying to dumb shit because I was being greedy or whatnot, trying to rush.
Right, and just trying to get it over with. What's funny is that, and I didn't make this connection until just now, after this game had come out a couple years later, when Sega was making games for other consoles, including Nintendo, Sonic Advance 2 for the Game Boy Advance has a boss fight that is just it shoots out spinning discs, and Sonic's supposed to platform on them to hit Eggman at top. I just realized. I wonder if they took that from that idea, or if it was just like, hey, how many boss fights can we do in Sonic? Hated that boss fight. Not necessarily because it did anything like annoying besides it being too long. If it was just, if you reduce all those many stages in the first, and many sets in the beginning, that's all just the same thing. If you reduce that down to just one, you got like maybe 4 sets in total and they're all different, far more tolerable because like you're waiting for him as he jumps back and forth and shoots at you.
It's crazy the gap in boss fights in this game though. Like,
we didn't even talk about that, right?
yeah, like you can kill Knuckles, you can
Immediately.
beat Knuckles in like 5 seconds if you're just homing.
You just homing attack him. Almost every boss in Sonic stuff is like that until this one.
Yeah.
The very first one, just homing attack over and over, and the thing's dead.
Really.
They don't give the bosses like any opportunity to defend that. Like I think about like Sonic Adventure 2 when Sonic fights Shadow and vice versa as Shadow when he fights Sonic in the forest, green forest or green jungle, white jungle, whatever it is. Like if you try to homing attack Shadow straight on, Shadow jumps into it and you bounce off. But like they learned obviously because Knuckles, you can just kill him instantly. Just spam it at him. He can't do shit. They want you to be like, what am I gonna do? And I run over here.
In like the boss fight, spelling out Knuckles is longer than the actual fight itself.
It's hilarious. But then you have an actual classic Eggman robot boss fight, which I didn't realize up until then, like, hey, this game had none of that. You just fight the weird water thing. And then our last level, which is not a Sonic level, is called Hot Shelter.
Such a
funny
weird
name.
Weird name. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of one of the songs for this game, for the options menu, is called Funky Groove Makes You Hot, ... for options. Because everything is ... for this, ... for that. So like they think hot and funky. They love describing parts of this game as hot and funky. And Hot Shelter starts off, if you play them in the technical order that you're supposed to, is an Amy level. Then it also has a big section, and Gamma can play through it as well. And it just is another factory Eggman level. There's some more puzzly type of stuff. You can tell this wasn't designed for Sonic because there's no real runways anywhere.
No.
There's a lot of actually like tight platforming. Amy has to move stairs, and I liked rotating the stick to like turn a handle for her. Felt frantic for her type of gameplay being chased. This is an Amy level, so to speak, which I find interesting.
This is the part.
But overall, it's just
the
more.
The only part I didn't like was when you had to press the button and the thing rotated.
Oh my god! And then you have to press. Yeah, the gears need to turn because then you go up the other gear. That's fine.
I'm saying it's right after that where there's like a long platform.
Oh,
and there's two little rails, and like even the little fairy is like
tells you try not to fall off,
and
you do.
Yeah, and I do, and I'm like, this is so fucking easy, and you fucking got me, and I was pissed. I was so mad at myself
because the camera angle is weird there, where it's almost not top down.
The fact there's a warning makes me think that like, oh no, this is bad, but we don't want to change it. And it just rotates.
Could move
and it wasn't
camera.
like it wasn't like this huge puzzle or anything. Like it was just like a one-time thing, and I'm like, why did you leave this in? Just like that was. I just got. But I know it's my fault, but like you could have just helped me out a little bit. And you know this game is finicky, and like you're sometimes on ice a little bit. You know when you're moving with momentum. But like I remember I got back there with Gamma, and I'm like, not this time. And I
can fly.
I can fly.
I can just hover over the pole, over the pit. Yeah, for sure. Weird level. Not a big fan of it, but it's not nearly as bad as Lost World, so I forgive it.
Yep.
For sure. All right, so that's all the levels, and that's all of Sonic's gameplay. Now let's talk about Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. Start with Tails. What did you think about Tails? His story? Oh, I guess Sonic's story.
I don't want to.
Gotta stop the thing.
I don't really even want to talk about the story because I don't remember half.
Who cares?
Who cares?
We got to get the emeralds, and we give them all to Eggman anyway.
Yeah.
But Tails. Talk about Tails. In a parallel universe, I bought that King Ice Tails bling.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier how I didn't like the voice actor and their lines. It's very kid, and not like a fun kid voice. Just like I feel like I'm talking to a kindergartner. Like it's kind of obnoxious. Sorry. But levels are fine. I think since most of them were Sonic levels and I just did them, it just felt like I'd rather just run through this as Sonic. Personally,
that's the thing. Like it's just Sonic sections of his own levels, but there's less of it. You get to cheat
in the Windy City. Windy City, is that called?
Windy Valley.
Windy Valley. I kept falling off, dude. Even though, like,
really,
I feel like it was telling me to skip shit, and I just kept falling off. I don't know what it was.
Really?
Maybe my game was bugged, or I'm just trash. Probably the latter. But whatever. Levels are fine. I forgot to mention the airplane levels. You don't have to fucking move. You don't have to shoot anything.
Yeah,
I did the whole.
You could sit in a corner.
You could sit in the corner and just let it play. I remember I did that on stream, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but like, if it's letting me do this, I don't care.
We had the same guy tell us that.
Yeah,
and I was like, really?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. You just sit in the corner. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll do it.
Well,
you don't
I figured
gain
it out
anything
pretty quick
from doing well.
I just was like moving around. I'm like, you can move real quick, and like nothing was shooting at me or hitting me really. And eventually I did try it out during the Tails sections to see like, okay, what happens if I actually try to shoot shit? And it still was boring. I'm like, this is
Can I just say this? The fact that they make you replay it and nothing's different sucks.
Yeah.
It's not like it's more challenging. Maybe you have to maintain your own speed or something. No.
At least you have to race Sonic, but like it's not that hard. The only person I had an issue with, I think, was the very last one where you had to race.
I'm just talking about the airplane thing.
Oh, sorry, but yeah, the airplane sucks.
The fact that they make you do the airplane thing again and none of that's different sucks.
If they ever remaster this game, cut the fucking airplane shit out, or make it just completely rehaul it. Like, do what like Nier Automata did with the the airplane shit, like, or something like top down, or have it make feel like I'm actually being attacked because
so they bring this back. They bring this back in Sonic Unleashed. There's two parts where it's basically just like this, but you don't move the airplane, I don't think. And every missile is just like a quick time event. It has a button, and you press it, and then the thing shoots that missile out of the way. That was very challenging for me as a child. Very fucking challenging because it's just quick time events times 30. And that was a game that was copying God of War 1 and 2's quick time event.
They wanted
gameplay.
a sex mini game in it, but they realized they couldn't.
They just fucking couldn't. It pissed them off so much.
It made them so mad. The director threw his water bottle at the whiteboard.
But they clearly thought about that and thought about bringing it back. And how might we make it different than just we don't need that Panzer Dragoon thing. I don't know.
We don't need it. But yeah, overall, I thought Tails is fine.
Is more of Sonic? I actually went through.
I'm saying like doing the levels again as Tails. I'm like, no, I'd rather have like I can skip some shit, and the hovering was kind of cool. But like I'm like I just want to go fast, bro.
Yeah. Besides the sandboarding, he doesn't really offer anything new.
Yeah.
But I will say so because the replayability, you get different grades depending on not necessarily how well you do. People like to think retroactively that it's like Sonic Adventure 2's grading system, where if you get an A rank or B or whatever, here it's like level A, C, B, and A. It's not necessarily your ranks. The first level is just beat it. Second is beat it with a bunch of rings. Third is beat it faster, right? With Tails, with the level select, I actually went and got all three in every single one of this stuff because I actually was having fun with it because it's just Sonic but shorter. And you could kind of cheat. But yeah, you just kind of just breeze through it, you know? Knuckles, on the other hand, is another thing where you kind of breeze through, at least compared to Sonic Adventure 2. It's a lot easier to find his shards. You don't get his ability to dig until later, which means the first levels, there is no digging to find them.
Thank God.
A lot of them are just out in the open. Very easy. Interesting little... We'll talk about like GameCube differences. One thing they added is that if you're right on top of it, like a red exclamation pops up above Knuckles' head. That wasn't in the Dreamcast, so it could be right next to you. And yeah, the thing's flashing like crazy at the bottom of the screen, but you might not know it's in the box next to you. But yeah, he just starts off treasure hunting in the city, which feels weird considering that you would treasure hunt like Knuckles is in Sonic Adventure 2 is all like ruins and shit and Pumpkin Hill. But yeah, it's just very mellow. They actually for the A ranks for Knuckles, they expect you to be able to beat it in less than a minute. And it's honestly not hard to do that.
Yeah,
because it's just very mellow. What do you think?
I think I was around 2 minutes. A lot easier than Sonic Adventure 2. I didn't hate it. Like you said, very mellow. So to me, like I don't know if I'd want to play it again, but like it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I got through it pretty quickly. I think there was only one level where I struggled to find like one or something, or like I think it was the one where like you had to like move the angle of the ship because some of them were hidden.
Yeah,
thing.
Out of the trash chutes.
I had to Google it because I was like, I think I know what I have to do, but like I don't know what way I'm supposed to do it. And like once I saw a YouTube video of it, I'm like, okay, whatever, I figured it out. So I did it. But other than that, like it was fine. You know, like I was able to figure it out under like 2 or 3 minutes.
My wondering is if perhaps because they took Sonic's levels and repurposed it for other characters, it was easier. When Sonic Adventure 2, they made Knuckles levels. Therefore, they could get tricky. I think of Aquatic Mine in Sonic Adventure 2 as Knuckles, where you're raising the water level, and there's like tunnels to different rooms with puzzles and ghosts, and I hated that level because it was too tricky. There's like an attic where there's a bunch of different switches, and you don't even know what they do unless you know. Here, it's just here's a section of Sonic's level.
The only thing I didn't like about the Knuckles adventure was the trying to find the keys to like the temple.
Yeah,
I had to Google that because I'm like, I don't think I would have found that straight up. Like I tried to not look up shit.
I looked them up too.
If I didn't have to, but I was like, okay, it's been 15 minutes, dude. Like I should be able to.
And they give you one right away. You think, oh, okay, I'll find the second one easy.
I didn't even realize that one was next to me until
I
looked it up, but. Yeah, I do like that. One thing I did like was that you can destroy shit as Knuckles in the city. I thought that was kind of cool that you can break boxes or whatnot. But it was fine. It could have been worse. Could have been Sonic Adventure 2.
Could have been worse indeed. So then we have Amy, and now I want to say something. I don't find her gameplay all that exciting, but if we think about If we get rid of the fishing and we get rid of the shooting and we have more about just 3D platforming type of character stuff, Amy's gameplay, maybe minus the fact that she's being chased, is the most basic you can get. She runs at a slow pace. She's got a little bit of puzzle things to do, a lot of jumping. She's got a melee weapon that she can spin around and get so dizzy. It's kind of funny to watch her walk. Have you done that?
Yeah.
She's spinning around and keeps spinning.
To use it outside of that one mini game.
Same thing with Tails spinning. Doesn't make any sense to me. When would you attack as Tails? There's like no enemies.
Yeah,
you just keep flying. But watching her get dizzy is really funny. But my favorite thing, there's like 3 things I feel like that are my favorite, like feeling gameplay wise that feel great. Amy has one of them. If you're at full speed running, and you could tell because she has her arms behind her back, like her hero Sonic, if you attack, she slams her hammer down in front of her, and it leaps her up in the air.
Yeah, you can get around quick.
Feels so good. It reminds me a lot of the triple jump in Mario 64, where like you jump right as you land, and then jump a third time, and he does like a triple flip. She like does that at full speed, and you hit the hammer. It feels very good. Don't know when she would use the hammer on anything really, because mostly you're running. Don't have really much time to stand around and chit chat. But her levels are okay. She only has 3, which is crazy.
But also good.
Yeah, but I'm not disappointed.
I'll take 3.
But it's just weird, you know. She's being chased by a robot because she has a bird
that has a Chaos
and then later
you
realize that the bird is Gamma's friend because Gamma's a bird.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, like in this section, I realized that Tails never needed a plane because he just grabs her and he just flies away with her. I'm like, bro,
right?
Just grab Sonic.
Not even tired. Exactly.
But I didn't like the color blocks. It was so fucking finicky. I was like, pick up the fucking block. Like I was like yelling. I'm like,
especially since you're being chased.
Yeah.
It's like, stop. Yeah, that's in Hot Shelter. Very annoying. Very annoying. Yeah, she basically gets chased by a robot, and then the final boss is just that robot.
But and at the end of that, I wrote this down because I thought it was funny. When the bird's flying, the one robot like out of nowhere just shoots like an arm. And he like grabs the bird, and I just freaking laughed. And I think it was supposed to be like this, like, oh my god. And I was like, what the? I don't know. It made me laugh. Maybe at this point I was tired, but like I was just like, yo, this fucking arm came out of nowhere and just grabbed that bird.
There's so much weird cutscene direction.
Yeah, we could spend a whole other episode on that, but like, damn. But also, let me skip the fucking credits. By the way, okay, this is the point in the game where I'm like, okay, I get it. Let me skip it. Then.
But she had to shave it, you know.
Yeah. No one's gonna get that, but it's okay.
Talking about just the cutscene direction real quickly here. Again, very early on, and I get it, timetable and blah, 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 right? The thing that always makes me laugh, whenever they're holding a Chaos Emerald, it's static and their hands are moving. It's floating, but it's not actually floating because it's stationary.
It's just very soulless.
Yeah, but I want to talk about, the mouths are even worse in the GameCube version that we played because there's more geometry for them to manipulate. But those Chaos Emeralds, so stationary, especially Eggman when he's holding it up like, I got it, and his hands are passing in and out of the fucking thing. Going now, never realized this was a reference. Starting with Super Smash Bros. Brawl, when Sonic is introduced, and onward, but mainly in Brawl. One of Sonic's victory screens is he spins around and he holds out a Chaos Emerald that's stationary while his hand moves. And I thought, oh, they didn't make the thing move with his hand. That's embarrassing. I now fucking realize that's a reference to this game. That's how everyone holds a Chaos Emerald. I'm like, god damn. So Amy, yeah, cool. Next up, we have our two other characters, and we'll also talk about the ending of the game. Big the Cat, E102 Gamma, and then our ending with Supersonic. Big the Cat. I know you said earlier that was the last one you did. A little hint, as of the time of this recording, that was less than 24 hours ago that he played Big the Cat. So this is fresh on your mind. So tell me all about
Big
big boy.
I said at the beginning of this episode, fuck Big the Cat. One, I feel like they did him dirty. I didn't know what he sounded like, to be honest, because I saw him in Sonic Adventure 2 as a little Easter egg. He's hiding everywhere in each level. Yeah. Whatever. But like, I feel like they did him dirty. Like they did the stereotypical like I'm dumb voice, and I'm like Foggy. Yeah, like it almost felt offensive at moments. I wasn't offended by it, but like it felt like I'm like, man, this could be offensive. I feel like just had like that kind of like delivery where I'm just like,
he's just a big boy.
Yeah, but they made it. But he like the way he was talking and like the grammar he was using just was very like stereotypical. Like, oh, this guy is slow. Kind of like, direction. It reminded me a lot of what's that movie with Tom Hanks?
Yeah. Forrest Gump.
I'm just like that. I feel like that's what they were trying to do, but I'm like, this is a fucking cat, bro. Like, I don't know.
But he big,
yeah. But fuck, I hate fishing. I just hate fishing in games. I'm so sick of it. I'm gonna say if you put a fishing game in your video game, you get knocked off a star. I don't give a shit if it's best game ever. I don't care if it's God of War 2. If there's fucking fishing in it, I don't want it.
Nier Automata has fishing in it.
Yeah, I never did it because I didn't give two shit. I don't like fishing.
Nier Replicant has fishing in it.
Fuck that too. There's a fucking bunch of quests for fishing, and I'm like, God, my freaking hands. I'm so sick of it. Stop.
It's worse in the PS3 and 360 version.
But this is just. I don't know if it's because it's a port or whatever, but I was using a PS4 controller. Maybe there's some issues with it, but like I just couldn't like figure out how to fish. And once I got it, I realized you just have to not move it once you hook it.
Just let the thing,
and just slowly hit the slow button, because it's not worth it really to do the high one fast one too much.
You can jerk it left and right with the analog stick if it's facing in the opposite direction.
But I couldn't tell, but the camera angle was so tough, and I'm like, I was getting so frustrated. But I also just I'm at this is the last section I was doing. I'm getting impatient, and this is the most patience thing you can put in a game is fishing. So I'm just so I get it. If you like that,
it's
shit,
literally
awesome,
testing you.
But I know I fail it every time. I don't care. I don't want fishing. Get it out of my game. If I wanted to play a fishing game, I'll play a fishing game. You know, play a fishing game. So to me, it was no. But yeah.
What's funny is I feel like half of Japanese game designers like fishing and like the idea of putting it in their games, for sure. There's been a few Zeldas that have fishing in it too, and they're honestly not bad. But
I just don't
it's
have the patience for it. I don't know.
I feel like it would have been better if it was just there are some ponds in the overworld that Sonic could fish at if you wanted. And maybe there's some neat things for your Chow World to find in the bottom of the pond or in a fish's mouth or something. I like Big the Cat as a character. He's the homie. I want a t-shirt with him. I want fan art of Big the Cat with a shirt that don't fit him anymore. He's got a beer gut and he's got a Bud Light in his hand. You know, that's what I want from Big the Cat. He's got weird gloves on. He also gets so every character gets upgrades and none of them fucking matter besides maybe Sonic's in a couple spots, but they're all just boring. Again, influenced by Zelda with getting upgrades. Big the Cat has technically two. He has the floaty ring, but then there's also a bunch of different lures hidden in the overworld and sometimes in the levels themselves, that basically all they do is they allow him to catch bigger fish. Like there are sharks, especially in Emerald Coast, that won't go for you unless you got the really big lures. But it's all just additive. It's not just oh, this one is the big one. It's you just find one that's just levels it up as you get more and more. One of them's under his bed in this little forest area. Why he put that there? Why didn't he take it with him? But he's Big the Cat. I love him.
I mean, I like that. Though. The ice stage was so frustrating, and I glitched out of the map.
Really? I got lucky enough to find the frog right away, so I didn't explore.
I'm one of those people that just happens to break games just purely by accident, and
You were designed to not have fun.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I just like the fight. I like the part in my head where it's the frog's running away from you, bro. He don't want to be with you. Don't. But you realize, his tail is part of chaos. That's the only reason why he's connected to this story, is because he swallowed a bit of the water and his tail got lumpy or something.
Yeah.
And you only find out in Gamma's stuff that he's going after the frog's tail. But I played Big the Cat before Gamma because I did it in the order you're supposed to play it in. I'm doing air quotes because, hey, if the game lets you pick in any order, then there is no order. I don't care if it's written in a certain way. Game allows you to do it, then there is no way you can say it's the wrong way to do it. Because I hate when people are when you're oh, I don't like this game because of blah blah blah, and someone says, well, you played it wrong. It's no, the game let me play it this way. If it's wrong for me to play it this way, then the game failed to make me play it the right way. In any case, I played Big before that. Gamma swoops in it randomly to take Froggy away, and I'm like, motherfucker took his frog. Froggy is the homie. Big the Cat's his friend. Moving on. Gamma. E102 Gamma. He's a robot designed by Eggman to kill Sonic, but Eggman, in his fucking crazy bloodlust, wants him to basically be the best of all of the robots initially, and prove that he's better. And then he loses, but then he's brought back in. And at one point, he realizes that Eggman's bad because Amy saves him. Yeah, he puts Amy in prison.
His brother being torn up for scraps.
Yep, which is
traumatic,
heart-wrenching. Not nearly as heart-wrenching.
The whole story, don't give a shit, but I liked his story. I legitimately was this is funny.
There's personality. There's honestly personality there.
And he
actually grows. Yeah. He learns and like he actually grows as a
There's
person.
a whole PTSD scene or trauma scene where it just like it just has like flashbacks to like
the part where
everything
he
bad that he's
realizes.
seen.
Yeah, and including briefly, because we played, again, the HD ports on the somewhat modern consoles. Based off the GameCube version, one of the flashbacks is a still image of Amy in a cutscene, but for some reason, it's the Dreamcast version of that screenshot. So it's Amy's old character model. That made me realize, wait a second, what's going on here? But I honest to God, love the scene where he's like going down the list because you destroy his brothers because they have
Terminator. He has like a vengeance to like take out.
He needs to destroy them because, and this is what I honestly love about this game, is that they took the old Sonic stuff of like, for some reason there are animals in every single one of Eggman's robots. That needs to happen in order for the robots to function. Maybe it needs just the brain power to function that somehow, right? Maybe I'm just making shit up. But there's an animal in every single one of them. Here, they actually implement that in the story. Once he realizes that, he has to take them out one by one to free. Because the robots aren't them, it's the animal inside. He kind of realizes that. But my favorite part is at the end where he's like...
That makes a lot more sense with the bird now that I think about it. I was like, at first I was like, what the fuck is with the bird? Then it makes more sense.
Because towards the end, he's like, all I have left is Beta, I think, or is his brother that got rebuilt. I have one left to free. And then he pauses and realizes that he's one of them too. And he's like, I got two left. And I like that he's thinking about how he has to kill himself. And at the very end, he's not the one that actually ends his own life. Something else happens to it. But like, really, he chose that. He died.
Yeah, when he blew up, I was like, damn.
I was honestly like, huh. This is sad. I mean, I'm not tearing up, but like just with relation to everything else in the game, this is sad.
Yeah, it just had like Terminator vibes the whole time. Like once he's like, I have a list. I have to go to each one and take them out. And like it wasn't. And I like how like you're badass. Like everything's auto aim, and I actually love that. Once again, look at my handheld. So like I really liked his levels. It was a change of pace. It's much easier. I just can go around. I think I died only once from like timing, or like there was like a timer
maybe,
but like
so like how the gameplay kind of works is that the more enemies you target and then release the button to fire the thing at adds time to you so you can keep going, kind of. But yeah, it is very easy. This is what the basis of Tails and Eggman's levels in Sonic Adventure 2 are based off of this. They're way harder than this, and they require more puzzle solving than this. Because, again, they made levels for those. Here, they retrofitted Sonic's levels for it. But it goes well with the game, because those levels are fast. And you just run through and you just keep mashing that B button, that square button, that whatever controller button you're using, right?
I like that you can
blow everything
and
up.
Shoot at the same time if you can make your hand fit that way. But like I didn't like that. Like, I'm like, I felt like a god. And I'm like, this is awesome. And when you fought like each robot, you just kicked its ass. And I'm like,
most of the time, it's almost just like the homing attack. Just keep fucking pressing the button and they die.
Yeah.
Right? You do a combination of locking on and firing and then just doing it,
really
right?
made me think that, like, someone needs to make a game. Or maybe they could do this. Like they did with Knuckles, right? We've joked about, like, they wanted to be edgy. What if they did a game where, like, it's a standalone Gamma game and it's just him getting vengeance? It's just him taking out robots. But it's like a shoot-'em-up game.
And it's funny because, like,
that'd be cool.
This style of gameplay has existed in other games where they're mostly on rails, like flying games where you're locking on and then releasing, where it's like that. But here it feels better because you're in control of your damn character.
I would just like this story not an on rails again, thing, but just like in a more like serious, like robot tone.
I need to replay it, but Sonic Heroes has E102 Omega. And I don't know if it's the same bird that gets turned into another robot. I thought they were the same character till in this game I realized, because I'm like, it's E102 Omega. And like, wait, they're calling him Gamma. Oh, and then he dies. I'm like, oh, it's a different robot entirely. But maybe they bring him back. I don't know. Exactly. Give me the bird.
Yeah. Honestly, I enjoyed these levels a lot. And I liked his story the most. I actually remember his story for the most part, and like. And I actually, like, I'm glad I picked that before Big the Cat, or maybe I should have done the correct way, because, like, maybe it would have been a better ending, but, like, I just enjoyed those levels, a lot.
Now let's talk about the actual ending with Supersonic. So Supersonic, uh, basically you start as Sonic and you have no fucking idea where to go.
Yep.
And then you run around all fucking 3 hub worlds trying to find it. I don't even remember where you go. I Googled it. We talked about that earlier. Okay, you go to Temple.
And
sure.
Knuckles and Eggman are dead or whatever.
Oh, that's exactly right. Because you see a cutscene where Knuckles goes after Eggman, or Eggman goes to Knuckles, you gotta help me. And I'm like, okay. And then like Chaos comes out and like, oh, he obviously gets attacked. So I go there right away. I don't see them. No cutscene triggers. I run up straight to the Emerald. I'm like, huh.
Same.
The Emerald's here, so clearly it wasn't stolen. So I guess we're good.
The same way to me.
Then I go to the city. Then I go to the egg carrier. Then the city. Then the ruins. Then the egg carrier. Then the city. And I go all over the fucking place and I Google and it's like, yeah, go up to Knuckles and Eggman. I'm like, fuck, because they're on the edge of that little area. And I'm like,
the cutscene should have been...
The cutscene trigger should have happened as soon as you get to the whole circle.
Or you don't have to even go there. Just go straight to the cutscene.
Because, yeah, it's not Sonic gameplay because there's no levels for you to do. So why? Yeah, I would have loved to skip straight to it. And then, then 9/11 happens.
And I like...
Perfect chaos destroys everything.
Like his entrance, though, was cool. But yeah, like everyone's dead, I would assume. But one thing I didn't like, not like, but like liked in like a really cringe way, was that they're like, oh, see, he could still use these emeralds because he used all the negative power. And I'm like, do fucking
y'all just made up a fucking excuse. Because they realized, oh, Supersonic needs the emeralds to do that, but the bad guy has all of them. So we need to just say why he has them.
Yeah, and like they just retconned
How did they get them?
They got it so they retconned it so they're just like,
and they're very quickly being like, hey, you can change his mind. He's a person in there. Oh, and he was a protector of all these little Chow things. Remember the Chows that are stored in the basement of the hotel? Yeah, he's their friend. Why do we have them stored there? Blah 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 blah. Remember the freaking basically Native American type of Knuckles tribe? Or I guess would be more Mayan inspired because of that, but they're still native South Americans.
South American natives,
right? Yeah. I want to say all the same thing, but like it's very similar. Before white men come and destroy it all, as far as they're concerned. We get all these cutscenes, and each one of their characters eventually they all, and it's a bit confusing whether or not they were actually there or if they saw it. And at the very end, Sonic does talk, I think, to them or whatever nonsense.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I thought she was dead,
but
by the way, to call. Because there's one, I forget who it was. I think it was Knuckles or whatever. You get there and like they're just all dead with the Chow, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah. A couple weird, funny things. The Chow in those cutscenes, the little ball over their head, is a sprite always. That's always facing the camera. In those cutscenes, it's not. They're facing whatever direction they're facing. And I'm like, this feels like a mistake. And then B, I also found out pretty early on, same voice as the hint light ball thing is Tikal's voice. And then I think later on they kind of made you realize that it is her. I'm like, oh, interesting, hint lady. Tell me where to go. Because the hint ball doesn't pop up in that supersonic area where you're trying to fucking find Knuckles.
Yeah.
Hated that. So now we're supersonic, and we get the boss fight, which they kind of recreated in Sonic Generations, where you get an awesome
very
song.
Familiar, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I played this before.
Exactly. And people might be like, oh, it's so recent. Sonic Generations is as old now as Sonic Adventure 2 was when Sonic Generations came out. Think about it. Sonic Adventure 2 was the 10th anniversary. Sonic Generations was the 20th anniversary. We have nothing for the 30th besides a broken port of a Wii game. But sure. Yeah, it's the second third of the life of Sonic.
Boss fight sucked.
Is that game. I did not like the boss fight. The first time through,
to figure out that I was doing things correctly, actually.
Yeah, you just have to be at full speed before you hit it, which makes sense. But they do bring back the Sonic 2 and classic Sonic supersonic idea of like, to be maintaining supersonic, you need to have rings. Otherwise, when they hit zero,
later on in the
you
fight.
turn back and then you die because you're over water. So you need to maintain the rings. I'm like, oof. They do that in Generations in that final boss fight, and that fucking sucks too. Here, I didn't have fun. The first time around,
anticlimactic, considering it was supposed to be like the fight.
Yeah. I would have preferred, like, honestly, something even more guided, to be honest. But then, so, like, it's 2 phases, but it's just the same thing. So basically 2 health bars. First health bar, I didn't realize there was a way to fail. I just thought you just swim into them. Maybe if you ran out of rings, that would be it. But they gave you so many rings. Sure, if you take all the rings the first time, you don't have any. Sure. But the first time through, I'm good. And then the second time, like, I just couldn't get a hit on him at all. I'm like, why am I getting shot out of him? Until, like, I think the hint thing told me, I think, that you need to go super fast. Or, like, Sonic, maybe I think a loading screen or something said, when Sonic's in Supersonic, he can go at lightning bolt fast.
Yeah, I saw that.
So you want to make sure you do that.
I think it was between
like,
the first, like, it happens again, and I'm like, did I mess? That's when I started thinking, like, did I mess up? Because, like, he regenerated. Was I supposed to press a button or something? Wasn't I not going lightning speed, and I didn't turn him to dust or whatever?
You just go into him, and then that's it. And then for some reason, that makes him happy, and he realizes, oh, maybe I shouldn't have caused 9/11. And then Tikal comes and takes him away, and our characters are like, yeah, we did it. Everyone is saved. And then the game ends.
It's literally the SpongeBob Patrick meme. We did it.
We saved the city.
Literally on fire. But this time it's drowned.
Yeah, everyone's dead. One weird thing, because we'll talk about GameCube differences, the entire cityscape is completely different. Like, the buildings are completely changed in the GameCube and Dreamcast version. Dreamcast version has less just straight up skyscrapers and has more, like, bell towers and clock towers and, like a city hall type, like a White House type, or not White House, Capitol Hill type of, like, domed buildings and stuff. Yeah. Whereas the one we played has mostly just skyscrapers with water pouring out of them, which makes me think, how did the plumbing explode in the building that's coming out of one window? Doesn't make any sense. But sure. Yeah, and then the game's done. And you're like, wow, the game is done. We have one more section to talk about, though, and that's the Chow stuff. To keep it very brief, like we mentioned earlier, it's basically a virtual pet idea. You raise the Chow, you can run them into races. The idea gets much more refined in Sonic Adventure 2, and especially the GameCube versions, because so the Chow basically, they hatch out of an egg. You can give them animals to give them cute body parts, but then also it raises their stats. In the Dreamcast versions of Sonic 1 and 2, you don't see the stats. You don't really know what's going on at all, which is interesting. But one stat that they do have in that they don't have in the GameCube versions is an actual life bar. If you hit them enough, they die. So you could kill them in the Dreamcast
and they're
version.
too baby-like, too. That way they're like, meow, meow, meow. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, there should be, I accidentally threw one, and I'm like...
Exactly. Oh, my God. So, in this GameCube version port that we played, you can give them headwear. In order to remove... Because you buy it at the store. In order to remove the headwear, you have to jump into them. You have to hurt them to get them to take their fucking paper bag or
Very
tree
abusive.
stump off. Yeah. They can't drown, but they can be like, I can't swim. It's very sad. You can also drown in the water as Tails because he's too short. I sent you a video of that the other day. Like, why? Because when do you even drown in these games at all? So they implemented it as a feature somewhere, and for some reason they made this water you can drown in. Why not remove that property? Tails doesn't need to drown in kindergarten class.
Hey, I'm here to pick up my kid. Just drown it.
So Yeah, the GameCube version has like the store, the black market you can buy stuff from, but initially you don't. The races are very basic. You just watch. Randomly, one of the chows will sparkle, and if you press the button, they get a little tiny boost. I don't know why you would want to help your enemies, because you're trying to get your Ethan Jr. That's what we named mine. You want to get Ethan Jr. to go as fast as possible.
I named mine God.
Nice.
And then I did one race and I left.
Yeah. It takes forever for you to like get them enough stats to actually even barely win one, but I won one. Almost kind of like how they reuse Sonic's levels for other characters. The race is just one giant area that they just put in section off. Yeah, this is over here. Yeah, this is over here. That kind of stuff. But then yeah, you just raise them. They do have a life cycle though. After one chow year, which is apparently an hour, but I definitely sat there for an hour and nothing happened. They like go in a little cocoon and come out as an adult. Depending on how many animals of certain types you gave them, basically whatever their stat is, kind of. They have different forms, or they might have wings or big horns, or kind of like more fin type structures or whatever, to denote which type of speed, swim, fly, power type of thing. And then after, I think, like 4 more chow years, they die. But if they were happy enough, they reincarnate into a new baby chow. So, if this is your end game, you can just end up losing your chow. Because it's a guarantee they die.
Hey,
and it's like,
but
why?
that's teaching kids things.
I guess. And I remember in Sonic Adventure 2 as a kid, when that finally happened to me, and I already looked this up online as a kid, so I knew. But when it finally happened, I'm like so sad. I'm like, I'm not playing this anymore. I pumped all of my, like, I replayed these levels so many times to get these animals, to get these little crayons that in Sonic Adventure 2 added, to feed to this one guy, and now he's dead. So I'm done. Of course, you end up playing it again later.
Saying
but
you gotta
like,
cherish your child's life when he's here.
Yeah. There's 3 different Chow Gardens. One's in the basement of the hotel, which is very weird. One is in the ruins. The Dreamcast version actually has like ramps in a higher area that they remove in the GameCube version. And the Eggman one is on an island with just a missile that crashed into it. And I love it. You can stand on the missile. It's very funny. I just poured all my chow into the hotel lobby one, and then I only paid attention to Ethan Jr. If like one of the other chow went for a fruit I wanted to pick up, I would pick the chow up and throw it. Like, no, this is for Ethan Jr.
That's fucked up.
I literally did the gold one and named him Ethan Jr. He's the golden child. He's better than the rest of you. You're blue. One of them's silver, one of them's black. I guess they're better than you blue people, but you're gone. Ethan Jr.'s gold. So yeah, I mean, did you like the chow stuff? I know we didn't play with it too much.
I spent maybe 30 minutes. I kept visiting there to drop off all my animals, but I think I missed more with it in Sonic Adventure 2, but
yeah,
it wasn't. I already knew it wasn't my cup of tea of type of micromanaging and figuring out recipes to make new chow. It's fine.
So what is interesting, and we did not get to experience this at all in this version because it's removed. Depending on which version you have, you can transport your chow to your portable device. On the Dreamcast version, you can send a chow to the VMU, the little Tamagotchi part of your controller, and play it when your console's off. There's a little chow adventure thing where it goes through, fights things. That's actually where you get to see the stats, and that's where you can name your chow. And then the GameCube version had the link cable connectivity for the Game Boy Advance, and you could download basically a small bite-sized game that stays on until you turn your Game Boy Advance off, which I did once, and like not lost a chow, but I lost all my progress, which sucked. And there you can play some mini games with your chow. You can get some rare items that you couldn't get in Sonic Adventure 2 that are in Sonic Adventure DX in the black market store. Some of the Sonic Game Boy Advance games had that feature you could unlock. And some of the later Sonic Advance games had more mini games you could play in that tiny chow garden, they called it. So that was cool. The version we had has a machine in each corner. It's called the Chow Name Station. In the GameCube version, it's a Game Boy Advance. In the Dreamcast version, it kind of looks like a Dreamcast controller with a VMU sticking in it, kind of.
Interesting.
They're kind of like, oh, that's where you throw the thing in there. GameCube version also lets you delete your Chow from there if you want to make room.
Yeah.
You just say goodbye to it and it goes away. Yeah, and then the 2004 Windows PC on CD version is technically the version that we played because that replaced that with just a naming station.
Yeah, I was going to say it has the delete or the goodbye.
Yeah, it has the delete in there too? Yeah. Okay. Well, that was added in. That wasn't in the Dreamcast version. You were just stuck with them unless you waited out for them to die on their own if they were unhappy. So that's the Chow stuff. Now let's talk about Sonic Adventure DX. So this came out 4 years later for GameCube, after Sonic Adventure 2 Battle already came out to GameCube. Has a few differences. The character models are all redone. A lot of the textures are redone or higher resolution. This game actually targets 60 frames per second. The Dreamcast version could only target 30. Has faster loading. You could actually skip cutscenes if you wanted to replay the story. I don't know why. Has a further draw distance. And depending on how you look at it, the collision is either worse or better. It could be better because if there's less collision, you're not hitting more invisible walls and slowing down. Or it could be worse because there are plenty of spots where there isn't collision where there should be, and you go out of bounds. You can just disappear.
That's what happened to me in my Steam version.
They removed a lot of invisible walls. Also, a character named Cream the Rabbit, which was introduced in technically Sonic Advance 2, but was from the cartoon Sonic X. She's seen in Station Square, flying around sometimes in some cutscenes.
I thought I saw some weird thing flying. Maybe that's what I saw.
Yeah, it's Cream the Rabbit. She flies with her ears. And the Chow Garden basically takes all the improvements from Sonic Adventure 2 Battle and puts it in this version. It replaces what existed before, including the black market, the visual stats, the race, whole race thing actually as a menu is more of a menu instead of a place. Because in the Dreamcast, you physically walked up to things and talked to things. You remember Oma Chow, Sonic Adventure 2?
Yep.
It's in this one as just statues. So it's weird. Like, it was in this game, in the Dreamcast version. And Chows won't die if you hit them, because they removed their life bar. But yes. So, now we're on to... and I do want to mention, most Sonic hyper fans that know all these games' differences and, like, the stuff and the secrets and really active on forums, say that the Dreamcast version is better simply because there's less bugs and weird instances. I feel like the character models look better because I like the fact that they have fingers, but at the same time, I do like Sonic's look on the Dreamcast version. He looks a little bit more, I don't want to say more classic, but he looks a little softer, a little bit more, not fun, but like, I guess cuddly? I don't know how to explain it. Whereas like the GameCube Sonic model and the way he animates too feels more rubbery and like and how he animates, whereas like it's the same animations in all the cutscenes.
The colors in general on the Dreamcast were a little bit more duller, more realism colors, when they're much more vibrant in the GameCube version. It had more like, I think they literally added like not ray tracing, but just glare to them to give them more of a shine. Yeah, which I thought was
it's weird because like some characters like Knuckles actually have like a fur texture on the model, whereas here it's just a colored gradient. So it feels very rubbery. Especially Sonic Adventure, like Adventure DX, the title screen has that render of Sonic. It looks very fucking wet and rubbery, and I don't like it. I don't like it. They put that on the box too. I don't like it. So now we're on the quote-unquote modern ports. The versions we played, it released in 2010. For Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and then eventually Steam. Mm-hmm. It's in 4:3, so technically not HD, although it is a higher resolution within that space. It has online leaderboards. Yeah, I found the guy who has the best time on Emerald Coast on PlayStation 3, and I sent him a message saying, "Wow, you're really fast," with no context. He never got back to me.
I wonder why.
You don't get to see PlayStation 3 messages on 4 or 5, so he would have had to have logged on to his PS3, which he probably threw out.
That message will just be on unread forever, baby, until the servers close.
Yeah. I hope the servers never close. And yeah, this is the last version of this game. There are no modern versions. That's the most modern from 11 years ago. It's not even in 16:9. None of it's been changed to fix anything. It is literally a port of that 2004 PC version. So I didn't mention Adventure DX comes out on GameCube in 2003, and then a year later they release it on Windows as on a CD disc for players to play on. It looks a little worse.
Oh, it looks real
has
bad.
a lower resolution.
Reminds me
for
of
sure.
RuneScape, baby. Like in terms of it's polygons.
Colors are flatter.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's playable, so whatever. The current modern versions, I believe, are technically that version, or at the very least, the GameCube version with a couple instances like the Chow name station lifted and plopped in. But yeah, this isn't on any modern platforms, and I feel like this is a shame. What I would like to see, assuming that they're not going to remake this game visually, or maybe even fix some bugs, maybe make the gameplay better. However, if they're just going to do like, hey, let's just bring it to modern platforms, what I would like to see is how games like the Halo Master Chief Collection let you, on the fly with a button press, change between the old and new graphics. Where like you could see the Dreamcast version graphics and the GameCube version graphics, and if they remake the graphics themselves, the new version graphics, they might as well, I think, I would hope, put an actual collection of sorts of like, hey, this is an actual definitive edition of this game and not just a version of it. Because the thing that really kind of irks me about this, and this is true with Sonic Adventure 2, that HD that they released a couple years later, although that wasn't 16:9, the thing that irks me is that it's based off the GameCube version, but they removed the GameCube version's extras. You need to pay DLC for them. You need to pay $3 in order to get the mission mode, which was added in Sonic Adventure DX, which is just dumb. There are some clipboards, 60 clipboards around the world, that just say, man, I would really like a drink at this water fountain in the city in day. Or like, oh, I guess Speed Highway has that fountain at the end of the level. Yep, there's a balloon there. Hit the balloon, that's it. It's their mission mode, but it's not fun. They make you pay for that again.
Yeah.
And that's dumb as fuck. Honest to God. I get it. The port was probably like $10 or something like that. It was already like a budget price, even for like the HD trend that this was a part of. Although this was right on the cusp. The first one I would imagine would be God of War, which was also in 2010.
Yeah.
But this was obviously after that. But yeah, I don't know. I want this to be on modern consoles. I think that's going to be our final statement. Do you also agree?
I think I said at the beginning, like, how I understand why people want like a remaster of this or a remake of this. And for them, yes. I don't know if I would play like a remaster of this, but if it was like remade, like Resident Evil 2 or even Sonic Color. Well, I don't even want to say Sonic Colors remake or Sonic Colors because it really
Ultimate.
It
is and isn't. They literally did remake it, but they just reconstructed it.
I'd rather be like a more.
It's not different.
Final Fantasy VII remake kind of level where it is.
That would be awesome.
Where it's
honestly just a different game.
Different game, but like all the levels are the same. They're just redone completely. Maybe there's some similarities, maybe there's some major differences, but just like...
It's kind of like Sonic Generations.
But I think
maybe not necessarily that gameplay, this gameplay, but yeah.
If they do that, I'd rather they just go the full 9 yards.
Absolutely.
This ties back into what we said a couple episodes ago with Sonic Rangers, where like I feel like this is a blueprint of what people like from 3D Sonic games. If they're going to stick with 3D Sonic games, which I don't see why they would switch from that, whether I care or not. I think this is a blueprint, just like make it modern, you know?
I agree. I feel like I finally understand the Sonic Adventure fervor as a Sonic Adventure 2 kid. I understand it now. And I do believe if they wanted to do this style of gameplay again, they just need some way of conveying to you that you don't need to go fast. Take your time and explore. It's not at your detriment to go slow and explore, because we want you to explore. Levels need to be designed better. But I get it. And I want this game on modern platforms just so more kids could play it, not having to bootleg a Steam version and mod it to make it be good. And that's that. So, this has been our episode 100 of the Sonic Movie Show. We've been going on for a very long time. I apologize. I hope you guys enjoyed this, though. We have plenty of cool stuff down in the pipeline. A bunch of awesome stuff we have planned out. A bunch of new, I almost said Sonic movies. There is a new Sonic movie that we will eventually review.
I guess, our next big thing on the horizon. Because I think
exactly.
Yeah, we won't hit 150 or 200 before that. So
yeah.
That's actually crazy to think about. That within the next 50, we're going to be seeing the second Sonic movie. Knock on wood. If it's not delayed or anything, but.
Yeah, we're starting to get back into like the movie hype cycle that we started this show on about. I've loved doing this podcast.
It's crazy we've done 100.
It's a highlight of my week.
We've done more because I know technically we've done more with like Chronicles of Diesel, but like
sure,
it is crazy where I feel like it's so low, but also a lot at the same time. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, not a lot of podcasts hit 100, so I'm proud that we did it. And yeah, here's to 100 more.
Yeah, 100 more. See you on the other side.